And welcome back to the Survivor 50 Seasons in 50 Days podcast. It is me, Coach Drew. I'm a little bit, I don't know how I feel right now because I had to speed watch even faster Marquesas today to get to Vecepia winning, only to watch, spoilers, someone get voted out of Survivor 50. And if you know who I am, you know who I'm talking about. So my mood might fluctuate throughout this, but we're going to be talking about Survivor Marquesas. I am joined by Gia Worthy from Inside Survivor, her third time doing the marathon with me. Usually she is my Fiji person, but Fiji actually got booked fairly fast this time, which is insane.
I have questions, by the way. Who got Fiji over
Fiji
me?
and South Pacific were the first two seasons to get booked.
Fiji and which one?
South Pacific.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I was shocked, but Gia has done. We have talked about Marquesas before, so it'll be fine. And then we have from the Funny 115, we have Mario Lanza here. Thank you both so much for joining us. Gia, I know you started watching a little later. I want to ask Mario first. So your first time watching this, as someone that was watching it straight through.
Mm-hmm.
What were your thoughts going into the season and then postseason and in your subsequent watches? Has it changed? Has your opinion changed at all?
Yeah, this is something that really needs to be put into context for the modern fan, is that going into Marquesas at the time, the mood was generally a little bit of disappointment. You were kind of not that excited about the season because this was not the original location. This was supposed to be Survivor Arabia in Jordan. And that was the problem. So I don't know if you guys, Mark Burnett, his big thing was every season had to get increasingly more dangerous, more hardcore, more badass. And the fourth one was supposed to be in the desert in Jordan. It got delayed or it got canceled because of 9/11. And at the last minute, they switched to Marquesas. Although anyone who was there would remember it wasn't called Marquesas, it was called Survivor Tahiti at first. And that really didn't sound very hardcore. So going into this back in 2002, that was kind of the mood.
Air 2 filmed one, yeah.
It's like, how do you follow Africa with Tahiti? It's not going to be hardcore or badass. So that was, then they built up this whole marketing campaign, back to the beach. It's going to be like season 1. It's going to be fun again. So at the time, you weren't really expecting anything big from this season. I think that would be the correct answer.
Yeah. And I will say that, kind of jumping the gun by a lot, but Vecepia and Sean kind of talk about the end of, people watching in their hair salons and barbershops. And I grew up in my mom's hair salon. I remember Marquesas is one of those seasons where I remember where I was for every single vote out. And I remember where I was when Vecepia won because I bawled my eyes out because it felt like we had won. And we're going to talk all about that. Gia, for you, as the Fiji person, yes, but where does Marquesas kind of rank for you? Has it changed over time? And how do you see Vecepia compared to an Earl Cole?
I mean, there are a lot of great similarities in Earl and Vecepia's games, but also things that I think very much individualize their games because it's only a game that they in particular could win with. And we'll talk about it. We've talked about Fiji a million times by now, Drew. So we don't need to go too much into Fiji, although that is the season that I love to talk about the most. But so I think that one of the things that really separates Marquesas from Fiji for me personally is Fiji I watched in the real time. So I think part of the reason that season is so special to me is because in my head, even though we had a Black winner from Survivor before, and we've had Black winners on other reality TV shows before, Earl Cole was really like my first Black winner on a show like Survivor. And Survivor was my favorite. So this was like a whole new concept for me and and not even to get into the fact that, it was an all Black final 3. So you knew we were getting a Black winner. And I think they all played fantastic games in their own ways. But Marquesas was a season that I actually watched for the first time when I was in my 20s. So I did not watch it in the real time. This was like when streaming services were really new, back when CBS had their monthly subscription for CBS Plus or I forget what it was, but it was not
CBS All Access or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had wanted, I knew that eventually I would want to be a Survivor completionist before we got, all the seasons available on Paramount Plus. I knew that I wanted to be like a Survivor completionist, so I was going to go watch all the old seasons that I had not seen in the real time because I was not aware of Survivor at that time. I started watching sporadically when All Stars happened, when All Stars was airing. Did not know the people from their first times playing, so to me that was like a new season. And then Vanuatu was the first season that I watched from beginning to end live. So that leaves 7 seasons that I hadn't seen in the beginning, and I feel like that really was the foundation of Survivor, so I wanted to watch back. But the first season that I watched from that list was Marquesas because I wanted to see the first Black winner. I was really interested. I had read some articles on the different seasons to get kind of like a brief summary of what those seasons were like. And I knew that there was a really strong bond between Sean and Vecepia. So I knew that that was something to look forward to as we were watching the season. I knew that this was a season that a lot of people that of the forums that I was getting into as I got a little older said was underrated or it wasn't valued as highly as it was airing, and then kind of gained more favor with fans down the road, like a lot of our favorite seasons do, a lot of our underrated faves. So that's what my opinion of it was going into the season, like almost 20 years after the season aired. And I loved it. I thought it was really refreshing from the other old school seasons that I watched. One of the things, and this is besides the point that it was Sean and Vecepia in particular, but even though that was a big selling point for me, but the first 3 seasons follow more or less the same formula of like the pre-merge, pre-jury is very important because you're trying to win the challenges over the other team because there's only 2 teams at that point. And then the team that goes into the merge with more people is going to start to systematically eliminate the other team one by one. A little bit of shifting back and forth between that formula. And then by the time they get down to that alliance, then that's where like the game starts really kind of forming out. And Marquesas is really the first real alliance flip in the way that it really changes the trajectory of the game. And one of the things that I love about this season is that it begins to open up the possibilities of what can happen in Survivor. You don't have to stay with the team that you started with throughout the whole game. This is kind of like the de facto blindsides. You don't have to keep the challenge beast around a la Hunter or Gina just because you think that they could help you win challenges, especially if they're not going to be good for your game in the long run. So these are some of the things that we wouldn't necessarily think was possible in the first 3 seasons. And this is where we start really having those conversations of, hey, what if we did this instead? Like what if this doesn't really benefit me and I want to try something different? So I really love that, but I think that the characters behind those moves really elevate it as well for me.
Yeah, and going off of that, watching it the way that I do, where I just go 50 straight days. I've talked about this last 2 days where Tina and Ethan at one point or another go against their alliance for one round because it benefits them, and then immediately go back to their alliance because the person that they leave out of the vote is like, well, we still kind of need you. And in here, it is very much, hey, we're going to flip this entire game. Mark, as the person that has been watching this from day one, what was your initial, like, as you watch Marquesas unfold, especially the John Carroll round, if I can fanboy for a second, the fall of John Carroll is one of my favorite articles for me. You, as the non-writer, how did you experience that?
Yeah, this is that was the first season I was actually writing a weekly column about the show. That's one of the things that I was literally the first person on the internet writing strategy columns about Survivor at the time. So I was doing my weekly recap. And the thing that I always remember, and this is something we talked about on my podcast, Survivor Historians, that what a big moment this John Carroll, it's not really a blindside. Everyone thinks it is, but it wasn't really a blindside. But that moment is one of the biggest moments in Survivor history because, as Gia pointed out, that's the first toppling of an alliance in power after the merge. That had never happened in Survivor before. And in particular, why I love this season so much is they had teased you that it was going to happen the 2 episodes before that with kind of Gabriel and with John and Gabriel and Boston Rob. And so as the audience, you're thinking, finally, something's going to happen after the merge. The alliance in power is going to fall. And they tease you with 2 episodes, and you kind of get annoyed after that second one when you think Boston Rob's going to topple them and he goes home. And then it happens. And it's like you get all your emotions built up, and then you've given up hope that it's going to happen. And then it happens. And that's why it was such a powerful moment at the time. And I still to this day consider that one of the top, 5 or 10 moments in Survivor history, just because that had literally never happened on the show before. And as Gia said, it flipped the script of what you thought Survivor would always be. It literally opened up the floodgates to what the show could be now.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that too, about how it's like a top 5, top 10 moment, because I think obviously there are some moments we think of immediately when we're talking about like the great Survivor moments. Like I feel like I don't even have to name them. We're already thinking of like a very similar top 3. And Marquesas kind of gets thrown under the bus a lot of the times. Like we don't think of it as like one of the most iconic moments of the shows, but like this is where we get the precedent for all of those great moves to come. And I really, to me, it is still a top 5 moment in the whole series. Like from the coconut chop challenge to like Sean Rector's vote, just cinema. Perfect.
Yeah, and to go on that one a little further, this is literally my second favorite season of Survivor. I've always said Pearl Islands is my favorite. Marquesas is my number 2. And I always say this is almost the perfect season of Survivor. It just gets overshadowed because Pearl Islands is more colorful and has bigger characters. But I've long said that. I've been saying this for 20 years. One day, if they, have an encyclopedia and they put what Survivor was, in 50 years in the future, I think Marquesas should be the picture. Because it's like, to me, someone who grew up through this is the textbook season of Survivor. And this is the one I would always show people if I'm introducing people to the show, because I love this one so much. I just think it's from a storytelling point of view, from a play strategy point of view, from a gameplay, it's everything just kind of works until the end. We'll talk about that at the end. The ending doesn't match the story it's telling. It's not Vesepia's fault. It's just not the story it's telling. But until that ending, this is almost like the perfect season of Survivor.
Well, and going off of that, and I talked about this when I did Australian Outback the other day, the biggest difference between this and that is when Jerry goes home.
Yeah, it's over.
It kind of just drags. When Boston Rob and John go off back to back, yes, we do get the Tammy. Oh, we get Zoe, Tammy, General Boots, which, yes, in themselves, there's no real, like, we know this is going to happen, but we have moments there. But because the final 5 vote and the final 4 vote are so, I would say, iconic, you kind of just forget that there is sort of a lag period for 3 episodes. But because we get the Sean and Pascal journey, we get the Nalia and Pascal journey, and then we get the General Boot episode, you kind of just, as super fans, I would say, as all 3 of us being Marquesas super fans, we just kind of, okay, that happens. And then we end up at 5, which we're going to talk a lot about later. And that final 4 thing with the purple rock draw and ultimately to 3. I think that what this season has over the first 3 seasons is it's compelling from beginning to end. Almost every single player on the season is distinct. I remember like the second or third time I watched the season, I'm like, oh, the General, Zoe, like, who are these people? Tammy even. And it's like, no, Tammy almost comes off as the real leader of the Row 2-4. Yeah. Zoe, if I thought they were serving alcohol there, I would have thought that Zoe was just drunk the entire time. I'm for sure certain she was drunk during the during Final Tribal. And the General's fun. He's fun. He's the New York accent probably helps. It's just Gabe. We'll talk about Gabe and how he almost made it back on the show and all of that. But Marquesas is one of those seasons where when you remove the nostalgia goggles, for me, jumping the gun, of the first 4 seasons, this is my favorite season. Yeah. And it's probably not even close because you get everything you would possibly want from an early season of Survivor before it got convoluted with idols and all that jazz.
Yeah.
So kind of, talking about some of the characters in the season, we don't have to dwell too much on certain folks, but Holy Peter, one of the greatest first boots in the history of the show. In fact, what's his nuts from 41? Man, what was his name? The guy from tall skinny guy that hit in the woods. Brad, yes. Brad gave Holy Peter vibes. Holy Peter and Sean have their moment on the beach, but then he also has his holes moment, and we get one of the first big Rob Mariano confessionals. For y'all, where does Holy Peter kind of live for you as far as first boots?
Yeah, go first.
This is hard because I've met a few first boots in person. I'm very lucky to say so, that I will always be like top tier first boots to me because I just know that they're lovely people. But talking about their times in the show, I don't know. So this is the first man to be first boot in Survivor history. So that's another. This is almost like the starting off point, like the hint that this season is going to be different between the first 3 seasons too. But I would say, top 5. I think first boots in there. He has a moment. I think we can think of a few first boots that really are maybe top 10 now that I'm thinking about it. But think about a couple of first boots that really go all out, really make the most of their time to shine in the show. There's been a few that, you just can't help but love or love to see get voted off here. So it's definitely interesting to see, but it's more fun to see a first boot or any early boot really just throw stuff at the wall and see what they can try to make work and at the very least try to get out of the situation versus having somebody that's there as a first boot and they get kind of an invisible edit. They almost, I'm sure something happened during their time on the show to say, hey, this is, this is what's going to set them up to be a target for the future. But it's nice when we get somebody that's just kind of a character. And Peter fits that role nicely.
I have so much to say here. It's going to be an interesting conversation because I view and live through the show in a much different way than probably both of you did and most people listening to this. If you were there at the time, I have a really interesting trivia fact about Peter. He was the first person in Survivor history to get beat down by the show for breaking his NDA and writing about what happened on the show on the website, on his website.
Oh, really?
And this was a big deal at the time. Yeah. That Peter, it happened the day after he was voted off, and he wrote his entire what happened on day 1 in Marquesas. And it's completely different than the edit we see in the episodes. That according to Peter, it was basically him and Hunter were battling for control. They were both alpha males. They both kind of had an army behind them. And it got really heated because they were both really strong alpha males. And eventually it just became they chose Hunter's side over Peter's, and Peter took the fall because you can't have 2 leaders on the tribe. And this becomes big later in the show because the whole Marta Amu tribe is alpha males, and they're just fighting each other. That's the whole problem. So Peter's edit is much different than the reality he presented in this article he wrote, and CBS shut him down hard. They're like, you can't undercut the edit. You're not allowed to do that. They kicked his website off the air, and he got in trouble. So anyone who kind of lived through the era might remember that, but that's kind of been forgotten to history. But yeah, the version of Peter that's presented on the show is very goofy, very new agey. But I actually know Peter. I've met him in real life. He's a really cool dude. He is. He's much different than you appear on the show. He's not that flaky, but obviously, just it's every player in Survivor history. They're all going to get boiled down to one trait. His trait is he's new age and he does yoga, and that's all he really do. But that's really not why he was voted out. He was voted out because it's him or Hunter, and they can only have one leader, so he took the hit for that.
The concept of Peter Harkey being lost media, the lost archives of Peter Harkey's time in Marquesas.
I know. I always feel bad that story doesn't get spread. There's so many things of Survivor that have made it over the years. These urban legends that one for some reason just got dropped, and no one seems to remember that. But
Yeah.
I want to tell you guys, go to listen to my podcast, Survivor Historians. We talk about all the stuff that happened as you were watching the show, as it was developing. But yeah, Peter's a really interesting guy. I will say, I wrote a fictional Survivor season many years ago, and he was one of the characters in it. And I sent him a copy because he was reading it. He loved my story. And he's like, Mario, I'm going to pay you back. I'll pay you for shipping. And I'm like, it's like $3. Who cares? He's like, no, as a man, a Christian man or whatever, I'll have to pay you back for. He was so nice about that. And that's all that one thing I always remember about him. He's just a good dude.
Well, and I do appreciate the moment. So the moment that him and Sean have on the beach when they first land, it's like I'm not the most religious person. I probably was when I was 11 years old watching the episode or watching that first episode. It's like, yeah, you could tell that both, at least at the time, were going to be big characters as far as whether it's they're talking about their religion or anything like that. And yes, even though Peter goes home in the first episode, I feel like he is at least one of the more memorable first boots in the history of the show. Now, you brought up Hunter, and that when once again to quote over one of your articles, the downfall, I guess, of Hunter Ellis, because to put it bluntly, the Great White Hope always makes it at least fairly far. Yes. In the first 3 seasons of the show. Oh,
you've seen Survivor, have you? Yes.
Yeah. The Great White Hope makes it fairly far in this show. And so for Hunter Ellis, it is a very it's a very fun 3-episode story arc of watching him combat with at least on the screen, Rob and Sean, as far as who's going to be the alpha male of this tribe, to hey, Rob and Sarah and Sean, they're all lazy, and I'm going to talk to them this type of way, blah, blah, blah. And then episode 3, where, hey, Mama went home, but like we're going to keep this on lock as best as possible. And episode 4, we called him the surfer dude or whatever they said they called him. This was one of those first. Marquesas is the season of firsts.
Yes.
The season of first, to the point where, and I don't know how it took me, this is my 7th time watching Marquesas. It took me until today to realize that, yes, we have people from opposing tribes at Final Tribal, but more importantly, we have an actual dominant tribe for the first time ever. It just never registered with me.
Yeah.
That we have a dominant tribe. But I think because Maramu gets a lot of screen time, I just never really registered the fact that, like, Rotu is kicking their ass. So Hunter Ellis, it's one of these underappreciated, I would say, moments of him going home. Gia, as someone who watched it later, did you have high hopes for him? And do you feel like he could have done well in this season if he doesn't go home here? And I guess Sarah would have been the person that goes home here instead.
Over Hunter.
Over Hunter. So do you think that Hunter had any legs in this game?
I mean, it's hard. I think we get this a lot. Like, we get this the same with a certain person that fell deservedly in a fire in 2 seasons, 2 seasons earlier with divine intervention. The question of, this person would have won if this horrible thing didn't happen to them. I think just listen, like, between the fire and that purple rock, like,
he can't hear us right now. So
there's some divine intervention was at work there, but I think I think the thing that people don't always take into consideration when we're talking about this, like Hunter, like, on any other season, Hunter would be the winner. He would have gone so far. He would have been the Boston Rob over Boston Rob, or like whatever you have to say about that. Look at the cast that Hunter is with. Like, these people are not going to put up with a Hunter Ellis in the long run of the game. Like, okay, like, let's say Hunter gets one over on Boston Rob or Sean Rector, and one of them went home over him this round, or they got rid of Fesepia or Sarah, and they're the ones in charge. What happens when we get to Maramu versus Rotu, like, in the merge? Like, I'm sorry, I would pay John Carroll to like have a conversation with Hunter about like how Hunter sees like how the game is going for him moving forward. Like I just don't see it in the grand scheme of things that like Hunter is the real like could have been the future winner of Survivor Marquesas, or that he would have even gone particularly far in Survivor Marquesas. And this is no shade to Hunter as a person. I feel like we know why he was cast. He wanted to be one. He was cast to be one of those like all-American types, like the Colbys, the Ethans, the people that you can like the all-American guy that people can root for, that people are really excited to see play and be their charming selves and everything. But I just think this cast was not the one that would like Hunter is a player that does well in like one of the first 3 seasons, but Marquesas is about where Survivor is heading, not where Survivor has already been. And Hunter is very much in the first category about like, where Survivor has already been. And I would say that for a season like Marquesas, one of the things I loved about this cast is that it does feel like they are so unique to the first 3 casts that we have that it would only be a game like Vesepia's that would win at the end here because of how much that happens from the beginning of the season to the end. And I'm really excited once we get towards the end to really talk about Vesepia's game more in a detailed way. But I think Hunter going when he does is not a fluke. This is exactly where it needed to happen for this season.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's not a fluke at all. It's just a first to
yes.
put what Drew, you said. That's the thing with Marquesas. I'm really glad you phrased it in that way. This is a season of first. A man had never been voted out first before. The big alpha male had never been voted out pre-merge, at least not third before. So yeah, it's not really a fluke. It's just, it was unprecedented. That's, if you lived through this at the time, wow. Everyone remembers where they were at that Hunter vote, and especially his final words where he's like, when you all die, I'm going to phone in the Red Cross because you can't live without me, which everyone remembers that moment. And like I said, that John Carroll is like one of my top 5-10 moments in Survivor history. I still think the Hunter blindside is one of the top 10 or 20 biggest moments in Survivor history, just because there had literally never been anything like that prior to this episode.
Yes. And to get on like it's not, I'm not going to make it as a tangent, but so people that hate the I call it the post-COVID era. I don't call it the new era because I feel like anything after 20 is new era. But the post-COVID era, anyone that hates it, it's like, yeah, but a lot of the problems that you guys claim only started here actually started between 20 and 40, and you just kind of neglect that because you have COVID brain and think that it only started 41. Because something like this, for the people that lived through it and watched it live, this is one of those I love old school Survivor moments of 1 through 20 of we still get moments that have never happened before, and when they do happen, it's like, holy shit, like this is cool. Like I wasn't even rooting for Hunter in the season, so like this is even better cool, I guess. Like, wow. This is awesome because I came into the season rooting for Vesepia. Vesepia was my winner pick. She is one of 3 people that I have guessed right through 50 seasons, because Sari and Jenna Lewis are gone now from 50. Spoilers. Vesepia was my winner pick from this season, and when it finally happened, it just and I think the thing with Hunter is, if you put him on a season 1 through 3, yes, he makes it fair, depending on the tribe.
Yeah,
because I still think there is a
first food after the merge.
Yeah, there is a, and so going off of that, Gabe is adorable. Gabe is Marquesas is one of my favorite seasons for a variety of reasons, but one, because I can just laugh at it for a lot of it. It's people's Gabon. People love laughing at Gabon. Marquesas is my Gabon, I guess, because you just laugh. Gabe saying, "Hey, I'm here. I'm here for the survival aspect. I'm here for this. I'm here for that. I'm here for what we find out. Off screen, he has this relationship with Malia and Pascal. I guess Pascal does kind of bring it up when he's crying about Gabe being gone. Could a Gabe play in the game in Survivor post 20? Can Gabe play in a game? It's not like he makes the merge, so but can a Gabe play in a game post season 20?
Gia should really answer this first because I could spend 30 minutes just talking about Gabe.
So. I love Gabe as a concept. And, I mean, I cannot emphasize. We need more camp characters like Gabe. I'm sorry, they are just so entertaining to me. I don't need everybody that plays Survivor to play Survivor, I don't need them all to do well or even try to do well. That is not why I'm here. I'm here for a colorful cast of characters. We got players like the ones we got in Survivor 48, sans a select few, so it's possible we could definitely have a Gabe. And a Gabe do fairly well. But I think realistically, the moment you start telling people you're focusing on the camp aspect or building a society, it's not going to fly well. It's not realistic for where we are at the show now and why we have, there's a reason we have $1 million prize at the end. It's just not that they have fully leaned into the, you have to outwit, outlast, outplay.
Yeah. Let me just add before I say anything else that it's been a running joke in the Survivor community since about 2004 that Mario has a big boy crush on Gabe. So that's been the running joke for many years. In fact, one of our Survivor Historians episodes is just titled Mario Rambles On About Gabe for 90 minutes. So I was Gabriel's Survivor biographer back in the day. I knew his family. They used to write to me when I was writing a weekly column. I've talked to Gabriel many times. So I don't even know where to start with this one, other than to say the thing that most people get wrong about Gabe is that he was a super badass competitor who was doing really well. And the problem was his tribe just didn't lose. And that really messed with his head because he has told me this. We talked about this before. He started to realize that this show means much to these people. And these are all his friends. They were all really tight on Road to, that him voting them out would be ruining their dream. And he just could not live with that. And that was the problem. That's kind of the problem with a tribe had never really won as many as Road to did in a row. So you don't go to tribal council. You don't really get to play Survivor. And by the time he got to play Survivor, it's almost 2 weeks into the game. And this is like his family. So he just had the hardest time with that. And that's what really cracked him. So I've always thought he might have done well if they'd lost that first episode. That's what really caught Gabe off guard is that he got too close to these people and he just could not handle the on his conscience of ruining their Survivor dream. So I think he would do fine in a modern season now. He's always said he wanted to come back and play again. It got in his head too much. And then he later said, I took it too seriously. I forgot it's a game. I have to remember that I'm out there to kick these people in the butt. That was his thing. So he was always wanted to come back and play again. He blames himself for taking it too seriously.
I will say, if we get another returnee season soon, please bring back Gabe.
Oh yeah.
Bring him back. No. I just because the Gabe we saw in season 4, I don't know how he would do in a new era season. Mm-hmm. However, if we get that opportunity, I want to see it. I would like to see it.
I will say one more thing. Yeah, I will say one more thing. I've never met someone who dislikes Gabe. He's universally liked by everybody in the community who ever met him. Yes. Every single challenge Road to wins before he gets voted out is because of Gabriel. There's that one where you dive down and take all the rocks out of the boat.
Yes.
And if you get 2, 3, and he takes 25 or something, it's ridiculous how much better he is than everybody.
I think it really speaks volumes to the reactions to the other 3 on the new Mara Amu tribe of how Gabe being voted out. That's not on accident. Yes. Let's be for real. That is that was a beloved man. And I have no qualms about him. Please bring him back. I would love to see him back on TV. Bring him on the Traitors if Survivor doesn't want him.
Yeah, Gabe is the real sweet pea in this season.
Yes.
And I don't know if you guys know this. This isn't well known. He and Nalia were a showmance at the time.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
Boston Rob and Sarah were a thing, and so were Gabriel and Nalia. So you vote Gabriel out. That's why Nalia is so pissed.
That makes so much sense to me.
Yes, that's the thing that wasn't shown in the episodes.
Yes.
Well, that's why I alluded to when I said Pascal and Nalia, like because because of his thing with Nalia and then Pascal. So basically, Pascal's two children in the show are dating each other. And
it adds a lot of context to the flip when you know that.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about Pascal later. And spoilers, I'm not a fan. Gia, just to put you quickly on the spot, Sean Rector or Gabe as far as who to come back?
Oh, Sean Rector. First of all,
I don't know.
No. Let's be for real. Sean Rector over everybody. Okay, like there's not he is first string. He is first draft pick. Not even first round draft pick. He is the first pick. Number one pick. I do not play around about Sean Rector and returning to Survivor. But Sean Rector, it's not even fair to the other players because, like, if I got one person, like, they were like, Gia, pick one person to bring back to Survivor. It's Sean Rector, easily.
Yeah.
It's not even close. Like, you know, and you all know how much I want a Dreams Herd return more than everybody and more than anybody in the world. Sean Rector comes first, okay? Like, we all need to wait our turn.
I'm not going to argue. It's a good pick. It's a good pick.
Easy first pick.
Yeah.
It's not even fair to the other Survivor players how badly I need Sean Rector to return to Survivor.
So one of my favorite things to do when I watch the show like this, when I'm watching it consecutively, is to kind of pick up on tendencies that the show kind of tries to do, like, or even narratives that they try to push, etc. 2 days ago, I talked about how I love Roger and Elizabeth. And then they tried it again here. And don't worry about hindsight. Don't worry about just in the realms of the season. Yeah. The Pascal and Nalia thing just never
rip off
connected with me.
Yeah. It didn't connect with fans either at the time. It just... You had Roger and Elizabeth. That was their thing. And, like, we don't need a Temu version of Roger and Elizabeth. That's basically what it was. Hate to say it. I mean, I like both of them, but no one cared.
Yeah. It was hard to root for them. And I didn't root for them. And it was... you can tell when they think that something works the first time that people love, they try to recreate it as many times as possible. And that's very evident with this particular edit. I think, we'll see in Thailand as well. They try to bring back like a Kathy O'Brien type character as well. Like they try to build off of what has already worked in previous seasons and mixed results depending on what you get there. But they are a big storyline of this season, but I don't think it comes off the way that production was hoping this duo comes off. But it'd be interesting to see, was this any different from when the season was airing from it? Of like, did people love Nalia and Pascal, or was this very much like, why are we seeing
this you're correct. Yeah, we've already seen this, and they're not as likable as the other two. And again, nothing against them. Although I should point out narratively, Nalia loses the season. She loses the final vote. And that's always a kind of a spot of dishonor because you have to make sure the audience isn't rooting for them. So it's a very odd thing, just thinking of this from a narrative point of view and the editors. You have Pascal and Nalia. You want them to be the beloved older man, younger daughter type characters like we had before. But Nalia also has to lose, and you have to make sure the audience is not rooting for her over Vecepia at the end. So it's a really interesting trap they kind of put themselves in. You can kind of see that in the narrative when they have the thing about Nalia and the mint, about Nalia kind of being the spoiled princess. They're trying to undercut that sweetheart thing that they've already started with her. It's kind of an awkward edit for Nalia.
Yeah.
But yeah, no one in the audience really cared about Pascal and Nalia. They're quote unquote some of the good guys of the season, but Kathy was the star of the season. No one cared about those two as the stars.
And we'll talk about Kathy. Spoilers. Gabe brings up, was it bad my mom liked Cass by himself? She called him Pappy. Yes, that is bad. I
mean, he wasn't disliked. He was a judge. Yeah.
I think I mean it's different watching Pascal in 2018. I think may have been the 2017, 2018. Like watching Pascal in my my early 20s at like in a 2010s lens is much harder to. It does not age well, I will say, especially as like a Black woman watching the season as we get to the Nalea and Pascal versus Sean and Vecepia. It does not age well, and I don't think it ages the way that some people were hoping that it would come across there. So it's hard to. I could definitely see the parts where he comes off as like a more likable guy, like someone that you can kind of root for through the end, but he is not for the people. He is not invited to any cookouts. He is not invited to.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
He's not
invited to cookouts, and I will.
He's not. He is not for the people. He is not. It's just not the. And this is my first time watching. I don't know what I would have thought of Pascal if I watched when the season actually aired, but it was not somebody that in the 2010s lens that I was particularly excited to see do well.
Yeah. One thing I want to add just real quick is that it was very similar at the time too. Like he had a kind of a nuanced edit, and I know a lot of people remember the bad stuff, like him saying "you people" to Vecepia and Sean, which kind of jumps out obviously, but he's also got that really nice moment where he's with Sean at the barbecue, which is what everyone at the time remembered that scene. Wow, what a nice scene that was of these two guys bonding who didn't necessarily get along. So it's like there's some bad moments, but he had good ones too. And that's one thing I want to point out to people, that just get people to remember that.
And honestly, this time around was, once again, this is my 7th time watching Survivor Marquesas. It was the most likable that Pascal has ever come off to me. And this is thinking I was, 2002, I was 11 or 12 watching this season live. And I hated him then when I didn't have real context to a lot of stuff that was going on. This time around, like today, I didn't enjoy Pascal, but it was the most that I've like given him a pass for a lot of stuff because of the Sean reward tour, just moments where like he is bonding with both Vecepia and Sean and other people when he's not saying it'd be a disservice and it'd be a disgrace to the season if either one of them won. He is bonding with both of these people, and it's upsetting. It's upsetting because a lot of the stuff that he says both back then and now just kind of it's like, oh man, you really shouldn't have said that. Because at the end of the day, so this is not really for me, it's never really been a thought. Like Pascal loses against pretty much everyone merge on for me, because he's not he's the one telling Kathy, so what if we're 5 and 6, if me and Ali are 5 and 6, so what, who cares, this, that, and the other. It's like, so he's not, and Nalia, even though she starts playing at day 24, like she keeps saying, I feel like Nalia probably beats him at the end, along with pretty much everyone else. With Pascal, it's always just been these little moments where he says, "Hey, it would be a disgrace if V or Sean win." All of this, but then you have this moment, and I'm an emotional person, as people know. I get emotional watching him and Sean have that moment with their reward. It's a fun moment. It's never resonated with me. It's never not resonated with me, because yes, I'm a white Southern judge and you're a brother from Harlem, as he says. But it's cute. Like you appreciate, and that's what Survivor was and sort of still is, of just taking people from different backgrounds. When we talked about it yesterday with Brandon, just,
Frank, huh?
it's just this. I'm just Frank's head popped in my face, my head, and it's just. But Brandon and Frank, and it's one of those moments that I have like it will never leave my head. You know, my balls. Yeah.
Yeah. The unlikely duos is always a good staple in That's one of the reoccurring things we should see more of, and that was one of the highlights of Survivor Marquesas for me, but especially a highlight of Pascal. You know, you can see why we get some good moments in there as well.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that's what people remembered at the time, is that you would have remembered that as a standout moment. You have these two guys from totally disparate places in the world and backgrounds. They had this really cool moment. Even the producers and the audience would have argued, the other stuff that was uncomfortable was fine to get to that nice moment where they had together. And so nowadays you'd focus more on the bad stuff. Back then they would have focused, but it was all worth it to get to the good scene where everyone seemed to get along. And it was a nice, Richard and Rudy moment where they're bonding and stuff. So.
Yes.
It's different. It's different emphasis in the way they produce the show nowadays. They really would take people from totally different backgrounds, and there would be uncomfortable stuff, but they'd hope you get to the good stuff in the middle. So, and they just they don't generally do that anymore. So that's how I would describe it at the time.
Roger, Elizabeth, they are not, but Rudy. But
yeah, I mean, Richard and Rudy was a big deal that they got together.
Rudy and Richard Hatch. Yeah, they are, and even to the end where when they vote, when the round that Sean and Nalia, I guess, are on the table, and this is going back to what both of y'all have talked about tonight. And I think, and I'm gonna spoil this whenever we finish. I'm spoiling this right now. I think the modern day audience, the one thing they would hate about this season is pretty kumbaya. Despite the fact that there are a lot of fights, there are a lot of this, there are a lot of that. At the end of the day, when Sean gets voted out, when Pascal gets voted, when Boston Rob gets voted out, they all say, "Hey, I was playing the game. I hope no one takes offense to it. Like I was just trying to. I want to be friends with these people." John Carroll says, I want to be friends with these people. I was just playing as hard as possible. The Sean and Nalia, the final five, which we're going to talk about more later, when that happens, you can tell these people are fighting their asses off, but when they go vote, with the exception of Nalia saying, "Oh, just too much drama. Whatever, you're Mormon." Everyone else is just kind of saying "Yeah, great competitor. I want to be friends. This is just us playing the game." And this is what I've always appreciated about Marquesas is this is the cast for me that was the best able almost to separate game from real life. We're going to get to Boston Rob a little bit later. Boston Rob is doing all this shit, and then his final words are, "Hey, it was all in the realms of the game. I hope we can all be friends. I'm sorry if anyone took offense to it." The one big thing, but that's something that I did appreciate about Pascal in his final jury speech, where he says, "Yeah, Nalia and Vesepia, I really appreciate both of you," and he votes for Nalia, one, because it's Nalia, but also she's less deceptive, which is a big thing for a Southern judge. I get it. I get it, I guess. This is the most likable for me that Pascal's ever come around. But I'm still not a fan of Pascal.
Yeah. I think there is an awareness to Nalea as well of how she is. I can respect her recognizing the flaws in her game, even if it might have cost her the money, getting, maybe that revelation should not have been said at the final tribal council. But Nalea also has some good moments in there as well, even if the general story, it makes sense why she does not win. I am very happy with the result of Sepia winning, but no complaints here. But I think that there is something charming about the way that Nalea learns about herself in her game going through, and how she does push for that vote flip in the from what we see in the edit. So there are, there are going to be some times where I am not particularly a fan of either of them, and I am rooting for their demise, but that does not mean that there are not moments that I am not charmed by them or amused by them.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna just quick. This is we don't have to talk about. Oh my heck is one of my favorite phrases.
Oh my heck,
No,
I love
oh
her.
my
I love
heck.
it.
But so, and we can kind of talk about Nalia right now. Mario, you live in the West Coast, so I'm fairly certain you've come across more Mormon folks than I've come across 5 in my life.
I was going to say most
And
of my
I
friends
will-
growing up were Mormon, so yes, I know them well.
I from my experience with Mormon people, they are just they are this. They are what she is. And so, one of the things that I tried to be aware of watching it this time was when people think that she's being fake or this, that, and the other, it's like,
No,
I don't
she's
know.
Mormon.
I feel like she's just being Mormon. Yeah, I feel like she's just being Mormon.
Yeah, but one thing I want to say is that Mormons all do. You guys don't know this. This is very common. They do the fake swear words. They're not allowed to swear.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
So they all
Yes.
do that. So, oh my heck is
one of my
very
best
common
friends
phrase.
is a former Mormon who became
Yeah.
a Christian, and he still doesn't swear.
Yeah, I used to sit by this guy at work. He was Mormon, and I'd always hear him yelling across the cube, and he'd yell these nonsensical swear words. And to this day, some of my favorite terms came from this guy. He'd yell like "cracker smack," which I don't even know what that means, but that's like a swear word in Mormon.
I love that.
Yeah, fork, farg, Shiite, anything that sounds like a swear word but isn't, that's a Mormon thing. So, oh my heck is absolutely a Mormon phrase I've heard many times. Yes.
Yeah, once again, this is the most because this is my final time doing the marathon. I'm gonna watch Marquesas a lot more after this, but because this is my final time doing it like this, I had to remove my biases, and I didn't dislike Nalia this time. In fact, yeah, despite the fact that she sits at Final Tribal and says, "Oh yeah, I started playing the game at day 24 and all this," like, yeah. At best, she is playing up the Sweet Pea role. At worst, she is just Sweet Pea, which for me, if she's sitting next to certain people, if she's sitting next to, let's say, Zoe, and we'll talk about Zoe in a little bit, I'd probably be willing to vote for Nalia in that situation. Because she is the one that tells Pascal, hey, I don't like the fact that they just did this during the Final 9 immunity challenge. I like let's do something. I didn't come here to do this, even though early in the episode she's fully content on doing it. I get Nalia this time, which it's sad that it took me almost over 2 decades to figure it out. But like, I get Nalia this time.
I'm really glad you say that, because I always say that that's something that I always thought Survivor fans should do that more, is try to get each player from their own individual perspective. That's because, again, Aaliyah's doing the best she can. She's this 21-year-old Mormon girl. And that's one thing I always want to point out. Like, I was not really a big Nalia fan because I found her annoying, but like, she would have been the youngest Survivor winner had she won. She was awfully young. So yeah, I think she did really good with, to your point, being who she is. That's who she is.
And also, just to go off that point, I think like watching it as a kid, you think that 21 is so old and mature and stuff. And now I'm 31 now. So I'm just like I can't imagine playing Survivor at 21, let alone doing well at 21. Like, that is kind of an amazing accomplishment in its own right. But I think often, especially for people that grew up with the show, you really don't think about like, wow, these people were so young playing this game, and like a lot of, that frontal lobe is not fully developed at that point. It's pretty interesting to see, like, be watching it, rewatching seasons that I watched as a kid, now watching them as an adult, and really putting it more into perspective.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great way of putting it. I like that answer.
Yeah.
So then we touched on Lily and Pascal, and I feel like this panel is great. I obviously, Gio, you know that I love you, and
yes.
Like this is. I feel like, because we have gone through probably a quarter of my notes based on we're 54 minutes into this. Yeah. I do kind of want to start getting through some of it, but and so I'll just kind of say this quickly, and we don't have to dwell on it. For some reason, this is the season where I remember in order the entire opening credits, who shows up when. because like I said, like just growing up my mom's hair salon.
Best iteration of Ancient Voices by far. Yes.
Music wise, I disagree, but video wise, I do agree. Music wise, Gabon is probably my favorite.
Yeah, Marquesas is my favorite. I'm with Gia on this one. That's my favorite.
It's a banger.
Ancient Voices.
Yeah, there's more oomph to it. It's just it's a banger. I liked 49's iteration of it too. Do you guys have a favorite like shot in the Survivor intros of like all time? Because I have an answer to this.
I have two answers to this. Yes.
Yes, I have an answer because I had when the 51 came out. I responded to someone else's post because they said coaches was the best from the 50 shot.
I know that's coaching your boy, but
I respectfully disagree with that. I think Bruce's shot of him jumping off the boat and then the fist pump afterwards is like one of the best shots we get in an intro for 45 specifically.
Yeah. I don't tend to remember opening credit shots. For some reason, it's jumping out at me as the one with Colleen in Borneo with her kind of thinking and all the flies are just off the top of my head.
With the bugs.
Yes.
For me, I said this yesterday, actually. I have two. So yesterday, I mentioned how for some reason, I love Silas's turn to the camera and smile during Africa. And then I love Jerry's in Here's Villains where she's going for the ball when they do the slip and slide.
Yes, that's a good one too.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll say Jerry because speaking of characters that don't age well.
Wait, not a Silas fan?
I wasn't a huge fan at the time when I first watched the season, but it's nice to know you're vindicated sometimes in your opinions.
Silas Gaither, another one of my favorite articles that you've
well, you guys should love what happened to Pascal after the season if you didn't like that.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but
I'll bring it up real quick. There's actually a lot of urban legends and Mandela stuff about Pascal. The story what happened was he was a judge. He had an affair with the district attorney. Which was a very big no-no. You do not sleep with the person who's arguing cases in front of you. And they had to retry a bunch of the cases because of that. So that is a big no-no. Yes.
And so like watching it the last 3 times I've watched Marquesas where he says, I'm going to value my wife and this, that, and the other. It's like, oh boy.
It does make his downfall at the Final Four much better, doesn't it? Yeah.
He won't scamp you. Okay, we're kind of moving on. Rob Mariano.
Who?
This is Rob Mariano's first time.
Oh, him. Yeah, I got
yes.
The general, Robert? That Robert?
Yes. Rob Mariano's first 2 times playing. He is the other Rob. Whether it's because he finishes less than in this season, and in the other season, Rob Cesternino is just the more famous Rob. Rob Mariano. Now, for me, I'm not one of these. It's cool to hate Rob Mariano people. Like I appreciate what he has done for the game. I'm also not one of these. Boston Rob is my favorite player people either. Like in his 5 seasons that he has played, I've enjoyed him as a player. Actually, probably all the time, because even here, I'm rooting for Rotu to fail. In All-Stars, Friend Viver is a thing, and he's not playing it. And Here's His Villains, I hate Russell Hantz, so anyone that goes against him is great with me. Redemption Island, you're playing against a bunch of jabronis. And in Winners at War, he has the conversation with Michelle, which automatically makes me like him, because anyone that is standing Michelle, I'm all good with. Here, with the exception, like the very big exception of him trying to out John in public, saying, "Hey, you gay, bro." I enjoy Rob as at best anti-hero, at worst villain in this season, because he is just kind of putting it out there. Hey, all these people are being deceptive, and I'm the one that's being obvious about it and open about it. Gia, Rob 1.0. Let's once again, we're gonna not.
Yeah.
He did try to out John Carroll. John Carroll's just like, I don't give a shit. I've been gay since I've been open about being gay forever. Like, I don't give a shit. With the exception of that, what did you think of Rob 1.0?
He's fine. I don't think it warranted a return, but like obviously that was like I have a lot of feelings about Boston Rob. I think, is he a great player? Of course. Like that's like, let's not even play around with that. But I think a lot of the reason that Boston Rob is considered the Survivor legend is because CBS wants him to be a legend. Like that is who they are rooting for. That is who they want to bring back 5 million times. Even just looking, if they wanted a man from Marquesas to return for All Stars, I can think of a few people that are probably a little more, at least 2 of them, that are more deserving of that spot in All Stars than Boston Rob. And I think him being a young, loudmouth guy like that, a guy's guy, is what put a lot of production onto him and wanting him to come back, which is fine. I think it can be a testament to what would happen with some of our other early boot players if they were given a second chance, especially players of marginalized communities that will probably never get that chance. But I think that's like, what?
Is that an Anthony reference?
Oh, I think Anthony would be a fantastic return. I think there's a good amount of players that I think if we, if they got the same chance as Boston Rob did, could make something really amazing out of it. I mean, we saw, I think even a more recent example, Kelly Wentworth, early boot, got voted back in during Second Chances season and is now a certified Survivor legend. And I have no qualms about that. I have no qualms about early boots being brought back. I'm not a big fan of him in Marquesas, but he has some good moments, and quite often he is against the people that I am rooting against because his allies are Sean and Vesepia in this round. But it's a interest. I think of his game in Marquesas as more of like a juxtaposition to Vesepia and Sean to an extent. Only because when they are swapped onto the new Row 2 together, we see Sean and Rob being a lot less willing to get along with or try to acclimate to kind of like the rules of camp in their new tribe. Whereas, and I think just at least from what we have seen, Sean at least can have some of these like nice conversations with some of the different players on there. But Rob is a lot more, for lack of a better term, like aggressive with his beliefs. Like he's very straightforward. He's very to the point. He very much is like my way or the highway. That's not anything new from what we've seen in some of his previous games, although he's more mature now. But thinking about it, it's interesting to see, the 2 players that lose from that swap are Rob and Sean, and they're not really willing to abide by the rules of their new tribe, whereas Vesepia is very clearly, if they were to go to tribal council in those episodes, Vesepia was not going to be the one voted out, particularly because her social game was the best. She was most willing to implement herself in their tribe, make her seem like at the very least higher on the pecking order than the 2 other people on the outs, and try to do her best with that. And I think that that's something that's really underrated about Vesepia's game.
Yeah, I would say at the time, people know my history. My favorite player, most people know Tino was my favorite, and then Rob Sesternino, and then Chris Doherty and Coach and those guys. But in the middle there was Boston Rob, who was my favorite for about a year until Sesternino showed up. This is back in 2002. But my reason why will be different probably than most people. And the reason why is because there really had not been a Boston Rob on Survivor prior to that. Mm-hmm. Before that, everyone was just like everyday people trying to win this game. They're trying to be diplomatic and strategic, but they're really trying to get along. Mm-hmm. And then comes this kid, Rob Mariano, who's really making no effort to really kind of fit in and make the audience like him. He's not really playing to the cameras that way. He's playing to the cameras a different way. And the way I would describe it is that he was more like a real world cast member that they stuck on Survivor.
Yes.
And it's funny because people always say, well, Survivor started reality TV. I'm like, not really. Real World was long
Real
before
World
that.
started.
Yeah.
In fact,
I
I'm
think
watching Real
anybody's-
World. I'm watching Real World Seattle
Yeah.
right now, and there's a guy, David, who's a clone of Boston Rob years before Boston Rob. But
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
and-
if you think that Survivor started reality TV,
yeah,
be
a lot of
so
people do.
fucking for real. Like, I'm sorry, you're just not. I didn't even watch Real World when it like at all, and I know that Real World was like where it started. If you want to talk about what started reality competition TV, that's a little different. Survivor is a contender for that in a way, but Real World, put some respect.
We have a very young audience these days on the internet, and a lot of them really do think Survivor started reality TV. So, but that's what my point is, that you put this in context. You got this guy who would have been a perfect Real World contestant. You throw him on Survivor, he's just, stirring shit up, just trying to get drama out of people. He's playing to the cameras. He's talking about quoting The Godfather. He's the first troublemaker on Survivor before Sesternino and Fair Play. So that was a big deal at the time because we had not seen that. So, like, I don't know if I would have liked him in real life, but he was so different from what we had ever seen on Survivor before. He really popped.
Yes.
And two other things I want to say is that he was not called Boston Rob at the time. For years, if you go back and read my old writings, he's Rob M. There's Rob M, there's Rob C in the generals. Those are the Robs. Yeah. He only became Boston Rob later. And to Gia's point, this is who the franchise wants to be their star. And they've wanted this for years. And they finally got it on his fourth time. He finally gets his win in Redemption Island. But prior to Redemption Island, he was just this loudmouth who had never succeeded technically at Survivor. He played a very Russell Hantz-like game in All-Stars where he crashed and burned. So it's like he was very dislikable in All-Stars. So, but that's the thing. They love these types of players. And I know you're going to say something, Drew. But I have one more thing to add, but go for it. Whatever you want to say.
No, finish your thought, because
okay. I had a casting director. I talked to a lot of people behind the scenes on the show. And there was one guy said, you know who the ultimate Survivor contestant is? Any casting director would kill for this one person. They said Rodney in Worlds Apart. They said he's brash, he causes trouble, he's handsome, but you also want him to crash and burn because he's so cocky, and he has that strong regional accent. He said that is the best thing as a casting director you want, the strong ethnic regional accent, because they're either going to soar to the moon or crash and burn, but they stand out so much because of that accent. Look who else matches that. That's Rob Mariano back in 2002. Yeah. So this is just something that these casting people have told me. You love those brash accent guys who are going to fail hard. You love them.
All right.
And if you're Rodney, you drink your own piss.
You drink your own piss. He added that later.
Drink your own piss. And it's all right. Like, hey, I'm not here to judge people. If you want to drink your own piss.
I am here to judge you if you drink your own piss.
I don't. What I was gonna say is, like, obviously, like for me, I've never put Russell Hantz and Rob Mariano in the same category, mainly because
you should.
With looking at Rob's five games, Marquesa, and we'll get to Kathy soon. Marquesas, he's trying to save it, and with the exception of the John Carroll moment, he's trying to save his ass. And yes, he's being overly aggressive, but like you kind of understand why he's doing that. Mm-hmm. In All Stars, all these people think they're playing with their friends, and he's like, "No, I'm trying to win $1 million, and like, fuck you guys, like, I'm here to win." And you kind of, like, Amber wins, and so she deserved to win, but like you feel for him because Big Tom and Lex specifically are so butthurt that he didn't stay true to his pregame alliance. In Heroes versus Villains, anyone that goes against Russell is A-okay in my book. Mm-hmm. Redemption Island, you play with a bunch of jabronis, fine. And then Winners at War, he doesn't outstay his welcome. He doesn't he has his little moment with Michelle, but he doesn't outstay his welcome. Russell Hantz, for me, has always been a piece of shit. And when I finally read your article on Russell Hantz specifically in Samoa and Heroes versus Villains, as far as like, yeah, this guy had no chance either time. So yes, I feel validated because I never understood the Russell Hantz fandom of, he was somehow robbed in either one of these seasons. And for Rob, I don't feel like he was robbed in any of the seasons, but it's also like it always felt like he was playing against. Just talking about Marquesas, his final words where he just kind of says, "It was a game. I appreciate everyone. I hope that we can be friends."
That was funny.
Yeah, it resonates with him, and John Carroll both do it because it's like you finally realize, oh yeah, this person's just playing overly hard. Sean does the same thing where he gets voted out. And he says, "Oh," and then he does. I like players like that where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to play as hard as possible, and then when I lose, it sucks. But I'm gonna be fine, and I think that like as an athlete / coach, that's always resonated with me as far as like when you lose, it sucks, it does, but I'm not gonna sit here and be Russell Hantz basically, basically. So going from Rob Mariano to Sean Rector. And also, just this is not a thing. I just want to point out, I have the first 2 seasons of The Simple Life on DVD because I love me like this.
That was the real start of reality TV.
That was where reality TV was born. Yes.
Sean Rector. Sean Rector has had a very big online fandom, basically and exceeds Camacho from season 3, exceeds a lot of these, like, I feel like meme fandoms online. Sean Rector is one where it's like people like him and like legitimately want him to come back. Sean Rector is one of the best confessionalists of the season, one of the best, I guess, game players of the season. You want to support this man. My thoughts on Sean Rector and just in the realms of this season, because I feel like at least 2/3 of us, maybe all of us, are very annoyed that he's never come back.
Yeah, it's I have a lot to say about Sean. He's a really interesting case that unbelievably popular now, which for good reason. I love Sean. He was fun. He was not particularly popular at the time. And it's for the same reason. It's really funny because it's exactly what Sean says in that episode. He goes, the audience is going to be watching at home going, those ungrateful Negroes. That's exactly, he called exactly what the audience was kind of like, why are Sean and Vesepia always whining and lazy? That was kind of the perception at the time. So it's been very interesting to me to see the renaissance of the love for Sean at the time. Like, Sean wasn't probably, I know there's stories he was considered for All-Stars. I don't in a million years believe he ever would have been considered for All-Stars. He just wasn't a big enough player at the time. And he wasn't a fan favorite. But it has been really interesting and heartening to me to see the belovedness and how much more people look back at Marquesas. I love him now because that was really not the experience that most people had at the time. People complained about him a lot on the message boards. I remember this. Like, why does he just complain all the time?
Yeah. When we did and Drew, I think you were in the Marquesas recap from 2 years ago too, when we did it for Christine from the Bitter Jurors podcast on there, and she would go back and look at like the Wayback Machine and go back and look at those old message boards in there, just kind of see what the response is. And shockingly enough, yes, Vesepia and Sean were not popular. Like maybe some highlights at different parts in the game, but really anytime race was mentioned in there, they were not popular.
Yeah, that's one thing that needs to be mentioned, that this is a kind of a new development that he's so popular now. That was not the case. And I think people are correct to love him now. I always thought people were wrong because he is one of my favorites. He was a great confessionalist, as you said. Mark Burnett famously at the time said the Marquesas cast was the funniest cast they'd ever had. He's talking about that Maramu morning show, the morning show. Yeah, Sean and Rob in general. So Mark Burnett loved these guys. And yeah, it's just, it was a shame that people didn't appreciate him at the time.
It's one of the funniest seasons, I would say, ever. But if we're just talking about as far as old school, pre-20, it'd be hard to find a season that's funnier than this. And like going through this over the next, I guess, 2-3 weeks before I get to season 20. But like I just all of the confessionals this season, and it's because Survivor is still in the moment where they're trying to kill their players. Mm-hmm. They're still trying to like, hey, we're gonna have lions try to kill you in season 3. We're not gonna give you food, and we're gonna have Jeff be a piece of shit to you in season 2. It's like, hey, give me all this stuff. In season 4, we have the no bugs. We have actual dead people out there. We have all of this, and Sean, one of my favorite confessions of all time is Sean laying there saying, "Hey, Nalia, shut the fuck up about this mint." You're offering what 6 or 7 starving people a mint that you sucked on. It is offer me a piece of doo doo.
Yeah,
Sean Rector is one of these characters / players that, yes, at the time, we're in 2002 America. They don't want to hear about that. They want to hear about if you're pro U.S. flag, if you're pro this, if you're pro that, you're all good in our book. Pascal's a legend because he brought an American flag and he's a Georgia judge and all of this. Sean, in 2026 and 2024 and 2022, and basically every time I've watched the season, Sean's been has been my proxy. Mm-hmm. Because he says almost everything that I feel. There is that moment where he's like, oh, yeah, these tribes kind of need a male to kind of lead the whatever. It's 2001 when they film, and it's fine. I feel like at a certain point, and he's still relatively young, I feel like the fandom could basically convince CBS to bring him back, and I think that it would be welcomed at that point, because I feel like a lot of people would have seen him through post 2010 eyes. Yeah. So going off of Sean on to, and we're once again I almost expected Marquesas to be the longest so far. I'm glad that it has been. I apologize if y'all have.
I want to set a record. We're going to set a record. No one will talk us. 2 hours.
Everyone, do not make plans for the next 5 hours.
One thing that not even one thing. So in season 3, we get our first swap, and we talked about that yesterday. Today, or in Marquesas, they swap at 13 instead of 12, and obviously everyone's caught off guard. And they keep the tribe numbers the same, so that Rotu basically is still the dominant tribe of the pre-merge. And yes, Maramu does win 1 immunity. We already talked about the Gabe aspect of it. Watching it this time, I'm almost shocked that they did keep Kathy over Gina. And we're going to talk about Kathy next. So any actual Kathy thoughts keep for the next segment, but I'm shocked that at that last moment before the merge, they kept Kathy over Gina.
Why are you shocked?
Because for me, it just kind of felt like Rotu was never on the Kathy train. And we'll talk about, like I said, we'll talk about Kathy, but it just never felt like Rotu was on the Kathy train. So Kathy going here specifically especially because these people just voted out Gabe. So they're not going to hate you for also voting out another Rotu here because they just voted out Gabe. No matter what words you have given, you vote out Kathy here. I feel like Pascal and Aaliyah probably are still welcomed with open arms when the merge happens. That's for me.
Yeah, I mean, just an early Survivor, you generally, other than the Gabriel vote, that was a aberration. That didn't happen much. Other than that, you always stuck with your tribe back in the early days. Yeah. So, there's almost no reason they would keep Gina over Kathy. You just stick with the Rotus. You know her, at least. And you don't know who Gina's aligned with. Maybe Gina's lying that she's actually close to Sean and Vesepia. That's the thing. I don't know why that would surprise you, because back at the time, that shocked nobody. Nobody thought that Gina was going to survive that vote. It's 3 Rotus against her. In fact, there's I don't know if you guys know this. You heard the story that after when Gina got voted out, when Probst threw a little shit fit.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
I told a friend of mine that last night, actually.
Yeah, I think Gabriel told me that once. I forget who it was, but someone told me that, Probst had a crush on Gina. They dated after the season. That was his first girlfriend. And Probst was not happy. Probst was not happy that they gave Gina false hope and then voted her out. And I heard that he cussed them out after the cameras were off for basically being mean to Gina and treating her like that. So yeah, that was kind of an infamous moment in Probst's history.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
The first
that's why I'm shocked that you were shocked that Gina.
I know.
No. It's more just thinking row 2 vibes.
Yeah, of course.
It's not because of it. Like, it's just thinking about the OG row 2 tribe. It just felt like Kathy was always number 8.
Yeah, but she did have a comeback after that. She started weak, but then she got more into their group, and they were very close when that twist hit. So
yeah. I think the most exciting option happened with them keeping Kathy here, but I think, one, we see a lot more from the confessionals and obviously what they're living day to day. So they don't know how Gina felt after Hunter was voted out or where her standing was in the tribe. They just kind of have to trust with where what she's saying about her tribe mates or her former tribe mates and everything. But I think Gina may have had a better pitch for keeping her over Kathy. And I do think she would have been more loyal to Nalea and Pascal to a point than, Kathy kind of wavers a little bit, which no shade to Kathy for that. That's what you should do. Maybe in a more modern season, there would have been more leeway, or there would have been more opportunity that of an understanding that Gina would be here, that Gina might stay over Kathy, and it actually makes sense. But for this stage of Survivor, it 100% thought Gina was staying, or Gina was going here over Kathy.
Yeah, it would have been so different from what Survivor did up to that point. Anytime in history if Gina survives that vote, it just wouldn't make sense.
Yeah,
I think they really tried to fool you with the edit on that one. That's one thing I always point out to people back in the day. They didn't want to tell you what was going to happen. They tried to hide the ending. They tried to hide. So there's a lot of misdirection in the editing back in the early days because they did not want you to predict what was going to happen. So Gina was shown as having much more of a chance than ever she had, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm currently living 45 minutes from where KVO is from. I've never been a KVO fan. Specifically because of All Stars, but every subsequent time that I've watched Marquesa, I've just kind of okay, whatever. With Kathy, this time, once again, I tried to remove all bias, all nostalgia goggles, everything, and I do feel like, once again, I feel like this was my favorite time watching Kathy in real time. But I think that when she gives her final tribal speech, that's where I eventually just kind of go no, you know what? I'm still not a fan. Why do y'all think that Kathy has Kathy is considered, I won't say legend, but a very big player in the history of Survivor? And I'm assuming it's not because of All Stars. So why do you guys think that Kathy in Marquesas is considered one of these all-time players?
Yeah, let Gia go first on that one. Yeah, go.
Yeah, I mean, Kathy is the perfect formula for old school Survivor for fan favorite material. She makes it far into the game, so we have a lot of time to get to know her, to root for her. She is an underdog, so she's somebody that has a chance to go far because she's on the majority tribe by the time we get to merge. But she is somebody that is still the underdog. She's likable. She values camp life. She values teamwork and the challenge strength. She has all of the makings of a very old school fan favorite on there. And I totally understand why she's a fan favorite. Watching Marquesas at time that I did, again, in the 2010s, like first time watching it, did not do any favors with it, because once we start getting towards the end, like, especially after Vesepia goes back on their very brief deal at Final 3, I personally see Kathy as being very kind of unnecessarily bitter towards Vesepia for that move, when she just did a very similar thing to Vesepia and Sean in Final 5. But I think it's all within the realm of possibility for like how Survivor is played, you know, like one loyalty for me but not for thee, and it's not anything new. It's not anything that I think disqualifies somebody from being a fan favorite. So it makes sense for me why she was the go-to of that season. She's also very funny. She's a great confessionalist. So it makes sense for me why she was the star that she was of Marquesas. Doesn't help that they under-edited their winner so badly. I think that the season is so much more interesting when you're watching it from the perspective of Vesepia. But it definitely makes sense to me why Kathy was the fan favorite of that season, and why she's back for All Stars. Also, if you're going to have anybody back from Marquesas, Kathy is going to be first round pick there.
Yeah. A good history lesson here for people who weren't there at the time, which is both of you, obviously. But I would make the argument that Kathy at the time was more popular than Colby, which is, Colby always gets mentioned. Oh, they were naming babies after Colby. But like, the audience wasn't necessarily pro Ogakor at the time. A lot of it was generally more Kucha. Kucha was the fan favorites. Colby was the popular one on the less popular tribe. But
like I said yesterday, 2 days ago, growing up is realizing that Kucha were the bad guys all along.
Nick and Alicia, this is not about you. You're angels.
But at the time, everyone was pro Kucha. They were just more interesting. But then we go into Kathy. That's why what I wanted to bring that up is that Kathy is the first time I can remember after the first season. The first season, all the casuals at home, your mom, your dad, your grandma, and even the internet fans, they were all Pagong fans. It's like Rudy, if you had to pick a Toggy, but then Colleen, those were the big two. Kathy is the next I can think of where everyone was on the same page at the time. Everybody was a Kathy fan. And it's not even so much for Kathy, other than the narrative is just around Kathy. The whole story is basically Kathy's comeback. She starts weak. She's sloppy. She's messy. She's a disaster. She ends up bonding. She goes over to Mata Amu. They have this unbelievable comeback. Some of the best episodes in Survivor history up to that point. Kathy's right in the middle of that. They come back and they flip. And then all of a sudden she's in the Power Alliance. It's really her story. And that's what I really need to get across to people, that at the time, that's, if you watch this week by week, you know, for 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks in a row, Kathy is the biggest character on TV. There's one episode, I think it's 5 or 4 or 5 or 6, where she has almost every confessional in the episode. They're all Kathy. It's ridiculous how much of this is the Kathy story. So it makes sense why she would be the major character. And that's one thing I really have to get across to people. Like, again, this is before All Stars, so nobody knew All Stars. She was the big star of Survivor. She was the biggest thing the biggest thing since sliced bread, until you get like Sesternino 2 years later. But Kathy was a big deal, to the point that I wrote this fictional story called All Star Survivor Hawaii in 2002, right after Marquesas aired. And the point of the story is I was going to kick Kathy out first. You got to set an example, kick the biggest character in Survivor out first. My other co-writers threatened to walk off the project if I kicked Kathy off. They were not going to participate if I kicked their favorite player off. So this is what a big deal she was among the internet fans at the time. So it was, it's like, Kathy, I think, would drive me nuts in real life. I don't know if I could hang out with her. And one thing I always say is that the way she says Marquesas, the Marquesa, which is correct. There's no place called Marquesas. There's the Marquesan Islands. So grammatically, she is correct, but no one else says it that way. So when she keeps saying the Marquesa, it's such a Karen thing that she's doing. I'm correct. So I will just keep saying that until you adapt to my correct pronunciation. So, and I've always got the sense she would be a little much, like you saw when her son comes out and visits her, and he's like, "Mom, shut up, calm down, calm." You know, she's a little much. So I don't know if she's the type of player that everyone would like in real life, but the fact remains, Marquesas is the Kathy story, and that's, like her or not, that is what the narrative is. That's why it's kind of unfulfilling at the end, because they edited it that way.
And I will say that, and it's fresh now because of the episode of Survivor 50 that this finished. There are 3 players. So Russell Hanson I put Russell Hanson in the same category as like Shannon from Nicaragua and like Ben Browning and Samoa, like those types of players. If you remove those players, the next category are people like Kathy and Aubrey for me, where they just have never shut the fuck up about the fact that they lost and that they were somehow robbed of the fact that they didn't win the game. And for me, for Kathy, obviously it's more all-stars of like, she just will not shut up about, and even into 2020, she just kept talking about how I probably should have won. So, but you didn't win. And that's the best thing about Survivor is anybody can win the game. So, and I think that watching Marquesas this time is, let me just watch the Kathy storyline. And you do, and yes, she does. For me, she goes from trying too hard to like, yeah, I do feel bad for her because these Row 2 people do have kind of a cool kids club and you're not a part of it, to, hey, I'm caught in the middle, and we're going to talk about the final 5 vote in a bit here. You're caught in the middle of 2 duos, and yes, you are butthurt that Vesepia lied to you, sort of, at final 3. I understand her being on All Stars because, yes, outside of Colby Donaldson, or even before Colby Donaldson, like you just said, she's the
face
character of the first 4 seasons of the show. Because she does still have that underdog thing going for her. She's the underdog on the favorites tribe in season 4. And she's the underdog on the non-favorite tribe during the swap in this season, and still makes it to final 3. I appreciate, and she is, at least confessional wise, she is one of the first people to say, I don't want to go to the end with Tammy or John. I don't want to do this. So like, I appreciate, this is one of the many things that I appreciate about doing the marathon the way that I do. You just kind of learn how other Survivor fans think. Which I'm curious when I get to Micronesia, because I've always been one of the Parvati is the 4th most important person in the Black Widow Brigade. But we'll find out. We'll find out.
Good luck. You're not going to survive. The internet will kill you.
But okay, so we go from Kathy. Once again, we're gonna try to hit 2 hours, I guess, at this point. Whatever.
Hell yeah.
You guys both have time. 2 hours. Okay.
I have work off tomorrow, so I'm good.
All right.
Before
do it for Gia.
We'll go in order. I guess the rest of my notes are in order. The fall of the Row 2-4.
Yes.
One of the greatest episodes of all time. We've all talked about it. We don't have to. I think from a narrative aspect, it's everything that we want. We start off at the beginning where our heroes, specifically Kathy, Vesepia, and Sean, have their backs against the wall. Hey, we're going to try to go to these anti-heroes, whoever, in Pascal and Nalia and say, hey. And Nalia, hey, Pascal, no. Who cares? We'll get 5th and 6th. I'm not going to break my word. And we have the Row 2-4. We start off with John. One of my favorite moments is John standing under the waterfall. It's one of my favorite action shots. Is John standing under the waterfall. And everything that happens after that, to the point where it is John versus Sean, and Sean says, hey, me and John have a real life bond because we've talked about being gay and being Black. And Sean is more hurt that we've had these personal conversations and it's not going to pay for fruition as far as me staying in the game. And we get the vote out, and checkmate, bruh, one of my favorite voting confessionals of all time.
It's the best.
It's just from beginning to end, the fall of John Carroll, but just the fall of the Row 2-4 because of it, is such a great episode. And I feel like underappreciated, if you're not me or Gia, or you who wrote an article about it, or just anyone that appreciates what Marquesas has brought to this community.
Yeah. One thing I want to say is that as good as that episode is, I don't think it stands alone in a vacuum. And this is my argument why I love Marquesas so much. I've always argued that Marquesas episodes 3 through 8 is the greatest stretch of episodes in Survivor history. It starts with the voting off of Hunter. It ends with the John Carroll blindside. Everything in the middle there is unbelievable. And it all has a payoff. It all has setups. Like it's like a fully structured season right in the middle there. So as good as that is, I just think that's the cherry on top of that whole stretch of episodes. That's the capper.
And it really feels like, I don't know. It's like, obviously with Survivor, we know they're trying to tell us a story, whether it's a story of how someone won or the story of how somebody else lost. They're big characters of the season, or, you know, just the comedy of errors that comes about when you have a cast of people competing against each other for money. But this episode is, I mean, I agree with you, Mario, that stretch of episodes is cinematic. It's amazing. I love it so much. Honestly, Marquesas is one of the best seasons to rewatch, do a binge watch of. I find it so fascinating to like see the Survivor strategy play out that way, like see it evolve in real time like that. With the fall of the Road to 4, I'm sure we would have gotten somebody to, like, at some point in the season and the history of Survivor that would have thought, hey, what if I just betray the team I started with, right? Like, what if I get the vote flips on here? But the thing that makes it so special is that because of the nature of Survivor, it is this cast that it happens with, and it feels like everybody here has a role. We have the Road to 4, right, with John Carroll as the leader. And I don't think this episode shines quite as bright if it is not John Carroll specifically that is voted out at the end of it, because John is the one we have the most time with. He is built up as this leader. And in any other season, the leader of that alliance is probably the one that's going to get the million, or at least be in the final 2 at that point. And so John at this point is already has this check written out to him. And we get the people that are obviously on the bottom. We know that they're on the bottom. We know that they are going to be next in line to be voted out in whatever order. We have the 2 that are on the bottom of the majority alliance, but don't care enough or don't see it enough to do anything about it. But then we get the most perfectly timed immunity challenge of all time with the coconut chop challenge. And we just start from seeing the order of the elimination to seeing Kathy, Vecepia, and Sean talking on the rocks. Sean saying, this is the order, this is how it's going to go. I remember reading an article, this was before I watched Marquesas, about like what wham lines are during each season, about like when the trajectory of the season changes, when it's the, like, this is the time that this is where like the storyline really hits its stride. This is the wham line of, this is the order it's going to go. We need to do something about this. We finally get that change of heart from Nalea and Pascal. Go to the end of the episode where we get John Carroll voted out here. We get the amazing confessional from Sean, bet on black. It's fantastic all the way through. It's a beautiful episode. There are very few episodes that would rank higher for me in here. It's just the storyline of Marquesas is great to me, but like this particular episode is the payoff.
Yeah, what's particularly funny about that, I agree with everything she just said. And one thing I want to add on top of that is that watching this at the time, I remember people would live comment on the message boards. Like, you didn't have social media, but people would live comments, and I'd read them as I'm watching the episode. People were so furious at that coconut chop as the episode's airing. Sean doesn't have a chance to save himself. The Amu's, they were so furious at that what they thought the storyline was going, that when that flip happens 25 minutes later in the episode, it like you do whiplash how you respond to that episode. Oh, you don't realize it's setting up the Road Twos. That you think the first half of that episode is so unfair that they have no chance, and then you realize what the producers were doing. And it was just so fun to watch that in real time.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a great moment.
When Survivor wants to, even now,
Bringing back the coconut chops.
They can put on a good episode where they can kind of tell a story that gets all of our it's not transparent, and it's not overly, hey, we're overly trying to trick you so that you have no game changers, basically.
Yeah.
We're overly trying to trick you so that you have no idea what's going on. Marquesas is especially this episode is a prime example of, you thought we were doing this, but as you watch this, you kind of see what could happen. Yeah. And so when the outcome happens, it's like, oh, you got me, or you didn't get me, but like that was good. And that's something that I feel like they have tried to duplicate throughout the years and hasn't really worked and I feel like Game Changers is probably the worst as far as like, hey, we're just going to try to trick the audience so much that they don't know anything that's going on.
Yeah. I would make the argument Marquesas does that 3 times. I used to call this audience blindside, where they actually blindside the audience. There's no clue what's about to happen. Once with Hunter, the Hunter vote, if you notice, they never mention him as a possible target the entire time until his vote comes up. You think it's Gina. And then this John vote, they completely blindside you with that coconut chop. And then we'll get about this a bit later, but the finale where everything is set up for either a Kathy or an Aaliyah win, and they completely, I mean, it sucks what they did to Vesepia, but they absolutely blindside the audience. Nobody saw that one coming.
Except for my mom's hair salon, but we're gonna get and we're gonna and this is once again, this is one of those moments we don't have to dwell on too much, but V versus Rob, because this is Rob Mario's first time, this is V's first time, and when they swap, V is basically kissing ass, whatever that means, and Rob is not. And Mara, I know you brought this up earlier, and because Rob and Sean are basically portraying themselves as the antagonists of the season, every time we hear what the pecking order is, it is always Rob, Sean, then V, because she is putting the effort into like, hey, you might like me long enough that something could happen. And this is kind of what Nalia, I feel like she was trying to propose at Final Tribal of like, yeah, if we go to 6, maybe something will happen that I can make it outside of that 6. And Rob says, oh yeah, V's kissing ass. I never trusted V. V keeps voting differently, all of that. When in reality, and V says this at Final Tribal, I had a strategy, and like I have to apologize to God. I don't have to apologize to any of you. Like this is me doing what I need to do to win $1 million. And I've always felt like that V is one of the more underappreciated, underrated, whatever winners as far as the larger Survivor community. And it feels like Survivor itself, because she wasn't on season 50. Just talking about the strategy, before we get to the actual Final Tribal of it all, and strategy-wise, how do we look at V in the bubble of just Survivor Marquesas, not talking about the actual win?
Well, just a quick answer is, well, she won and Boston Rob didn't. So who was a better player? Yeah. All right. If you'd like to elaborate on that, feel free, but that's the short answer.
You'll have no argument for either one of us. You'll have no argument for me.
Yeah. I will just say, I wrote, if you read my old strategy columns, they're still on my website. I still have my archives there. After Marquesas ended, I made a prediction, and this is, out of all the things I've ever written, this is the one that I wish would have come true, and it didn't. I wrote, I think in history, Vesepia will go down as one of the greatest Survivor players ever. And it never happened. And that's the one thing that I've written that I know I was right on, and it just didn't happen. And I don't know why. I don't know why it has not happened.
She's on my list personally, but you know, people are not as receptive.
Yeah.
I think we're really talking about the Survivor greats. It's harder to make the case for the one season winners, right? Like the people that have only played, they played fantastic games. Like I remember you mentioned Chris Daughtery. I'm sorry, I butchered his last name, but
not the singer. We're not talking about Chris Daughtery.
Yeah.
No, yes. But another fantastic player, I would say one of like the best winners we've ever had. Never on anybody's list for like the greatest players of all time because he hasn't played more than one time. To me, he's fantastic player, fantastic winner. Obviously Earl Cole is on. Guess who I voted for today on the EW poll? And unfortunately, we don't. It's hard to make the case for those one-time players, but I'm still going to, and they're fantastic. And I think Vesepia's deserved a better edit than she got, but even the bits that we do get of her game, particularly in the finale, are amazing because of the payoff at the end. Like, we are getting our first real under the radar winner. Like, she is somebody that came in with a plan. She had pieces of her strategy that it comes together at the end as well. And just because it's not from the perspective of the person you want to hear it from does not mean that it's not valid. And I really hold her game in high regard because she achieved so much in her one time in 2002 or 2001 when they actually filmed the season, mind you, for what can be achieved in a game like Survivor.
Yeah. I feel like for her, it's like a fusion of the first three winners, where she has the strategy of Richard Hatch, she has the cutthroatness of Tina Wesson, where it's like, I'm gonna vote Rob here because Rob's gotta go, but like no qualms, no offense. And Ethan Zahn of, I'm gonna be the most likable person here, and I'm next to a Mormon. Like, Mormons are the most nice, like the nicest people on the planet. Like, I'm going to combine all of these things together to win this game. And going back to Kathy for a second, because we can kind of transition to that final five vote. For me, it's always been, and Gia, you brought this up earlier when I went on Christine's podcast 1 or 2 years ago, and I talked about Pascal and Aaliyah are outwardly, and we're still in the era where you can outwardly be open about your alliances and your duos or whatever. And with the exception of like a few seasons, specifically season 48, where you can outwardly tell people this and people just kind of let it happen. Pascal and Aaliyah are saying, hey, we will never vote against each other. Sean and V are saying, even though for the most part we know these people are tight, at least V has voted differently than Sean at different points. And Kathy sits in the middle and decides to go with Pascal and Aaliyah. V is playing her own game from beginning to end. She doesn't just vote with her alliance. This is the Tina aspect of her game. She doesn't just vote with her alliance from beginning to end. She does what she feels is best for the Sepia. And Mari, you brought up, oh yeah, she's going to be looked at as one of the greatest. For me, and it sucks, and it like, because growing up, I always considered her was one of the greatest. And I think when I joined the online community, I put her in the mid category, and it's because I let people get in my head. I still don't have her at the bottom because I don't like Kathy. But like I've always considered Vesepi as one of those players that kind of understood what the game was, similar to Chris and Vanuatu and Rob Testernino and Amazon, even though he didn't win. Understand what the game is. The game is, it's not to get along with everyone. It's not to tell the truth. It's not to lie. It's to get to the end and try to convince these people that I'm better than this person.
Yeah.
And I think that she did, of the four winners that we have at this point, I feel like she did it the best. And
she did it differently, for sure. Yeah, differently.
Yes, and her winning with a 6-1 row 2 to Maramu advantage is a testament to how she played, because it's just her and Sean. Once the jury starts, she knows she probably has Sean's vote here, and she gets 3 other votes because people, no matter how they voted, she still gets 3 row 2 votes at the end. And it's, I won't say frustrating, because like, whatever, the Survivor fandom is what it is. But to what you said, it is crazy that people don't put her in the same category as a lot of these other, even if we don't talk about all-time winners, just talking about all-time female winners. For me, 3 or 4 as far as female winners, as far as all-time winners, top 20, because she understood what she had to do to win the game.
Yeah. Excuse me. One of the things I've said over the years is I don't like returnee seasons. I've never liked them. I don't like what they do to Survivor history. Vesepia is Exhibit A because returnee seasons is basically Jeff Probst gets to choose what Survivor history is. Whatever his favorites are, they're just going to keep coming back. He's never liked Vesepia. She wasn't flashy. She wasn't a fan favorite. So she doesn't get invited back. She's wanted to come back for years. They never even call her. And this is what I've always thought sucks is that if every winner had just been a one-off, her legacy would look much more interesting. And you go, oh, wow. But because Jeff Probst is allowed to handpick the history of Survivor, there's no way to champion Vesepia. Someone has to go on the internet and write about her. I've written some about her. I wish I could write more, but it is unbelievable what she managed to pull off. Like you said, a Mata'amu should not have won that season. There's no way. They were the buffoon tribe. They were getting killed. In fact, yeah, and to although one other thing we talked about earlier, Vesepia versus Boston Rob. Let me just say this one thing. Vesepia could not play a Boston Rob game. Boston Rob could not play a Vesepia game. So it's not really apples and oranges. You can't really, she could not be like he is. But she is unbelievable how impossible she made herself to be voted off. And that's the one thing, that's the single strongest thing you can do in Survivor. And this is one of those things I didn't notice until I used to write a weekly strategy column. I do my power rankings and who was in the lead every week. And it wasn't until I got to the end of the season that I noticed Vesepia was always like number 5 or 6 every single week. Didn't matter who was in power. Vesepia 5, 5, 5, 5, 6, 5, 5, 5. Oh my God, she was never in danger of being voted off. She would always be the least offensive person of the bottom tribe. And then she'd slip into the power one. And then when the power shifted, she was like 4th or 5th and the one in charge. So she's never a target. I'm like, that's unbelievable. Because I was looking at past seasons and no one was ever like that like her before. She was able to I kind of called her a snake. She could kind of slither in between the two alliances. But what really sold me on Vesepia was stuff, and you guys might not know this. This is kind of out of the game stuff. There was one interview in particular, and this one kills me that this is not better remembered in history, where everyone remembers Boston Rob for the Hunter blindside. They're all like, oh, Boston Rob made this big move. But there was an interview I remember after the season, Vesepia was like, well, I had just as much to do with that as Rob. She's like, because I had a thing. My thing was when there's an alpha male, someone who's kind of, pretentious, over the top, full of themselves, smug, I would just get them to brag about themselves. Just ask them, oh, Hunter, what's it like being a Navy pilot? Oh, what's it like being so handsome? And he'd just go off, and it annoyed the other guys so much because they hated him doing that. And so she called it puffing up. And this is how she would get targets on people that might not have had a target before. And like, that is freaking genius. Yeah. How come that is not shown in the episode? That was her thing. She would puff up these alpha males and make them go after each other. And she just slid them right by. And like, that is unbelievable. And I don't know if do you watch the recap episode when you were watching the season?
So I've watched the recap episodes twice. When I do this marathon, I skip them because I've seen them enough to know that I don't need to watch them again. Yeah. So that's how I'm able to do this.
Okay. I only bring that up. I hate recap episodes because it's like if it was important enough to be in the show, you'd put it in the episode. But the Marquesas one is particularly interesting for anybody who wants to know a little bit more about Survivor history, because that John Carroll blindside, the Row 24, follow the Row 24, there's a huge subplot in the recap episode they didn't put in the real episode where, all right, we got Nalia, we got Pascal, we got Sean, we got Kathy. We can take down the Row 24, but there's a problem. We need Vesepia back. She's such a good player. She has integrated herself in with the Row 2s. Mm-hmm. So it was not an instance of getting Kathy or Pascal and Nalia to flip. They had to get Vesepia back because she was so good that she was already considered a Row 2. And when I heard all this stuff, I'm like, this is the greatest player that has ever played Survivor. They can't vote her out. She's always in the alliance in power. She never makes enemies. All she has to do is get to the end against some asshole who's worse than her. And that's what I'm saying. I always called her the prototypical Sandra. She does what Sandra did, and she did it first and with less lip.
She did it first. But
she did it first.
And I think because she's not as confrontational as Sandra. You brought up the Pearl Islands and Marquesas. The one thing that that Sandra has over Vecepia is she's
loud.
She can get loud too.
Yeah.
She can
And
get loud
Vesepia's the exact opposite. She wants no drama. That's the difference.
And I think that's what Sandra had, because they do basically play. They're making the same bonds with the same types of people. They're going to the end with the same types of people, because I do feel like Lil did get a chance to talk to, like, we'll talk about it on Saturday, I think. Lil is making bonds with people, but like what Vecepia and Sandra had was they had a grasp on the game, and also they had these bonds with these people that, like, a lot of people kind of like, and especially this is why I don't like post 20 kind of players. A lot of players don't put the time in to get to know people, because that is what matters. When people say, oh, Parvati versus Sandra, heroes versus villains, it's like the heroes that voted for her, it's because they liked her better.
Yeah.
Parvati was just a villain that played the villain once the merge happened. You can't do that. And I feel like people like Vecepia, where you swap, and you're not Sean and Rob, where you're antagonizing people. You're just Vecepia. I feel like that does pay off more than likely than, oh, I'm not gonna Sean. I love Sean. I'm not gonna do what they tell me to do. I'm not gonna do this. It's like, well, why? Like, I understand, like, it sucks kissing ass. I get it. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you gotta kiss ass.
Yeah.
And that's what makes her, I say, a mercenary. She and Sandra are mercenaries. They're for hire, and they have relationships with everyone. That makes them dangerous. Yeah, go ahead.
And I think it really comes together. This is my favorite part of the season of the story of Vecepia. It's not the Hunter blindside. It's not the Road to 4. It's not the tribe swap. It's when we are at the finale and they are getting ready for the Tribal Council Immunity Challenge. And they have an idea of what it's going to be, something about a quiz for the jury. They're comparing notes as a group. And she says to them, like, oh, I can't remember where this person was from. It was like Patricia, I think. It was, I can't remember. I think it was like, you know, she names off a couple places. Pan to Vecepia. Oh, I know where Patricia's from. I know where, you know, like, I know where all of these people are from. I have it written down. I'm not sharing with them. If one of them wins, I'm going home.
Yep.
And it seems like such a simple concept, but this is really like moral dilemmas for a lot of people especially in the first seasons of Survivor. And it was like, this is where her winning arc comes together for me. We see all the little things she does. And I watched this knowing that Vecepia was the winner. So it's a little different for me watching it at that time versus like watching it as the season was airing and not being sure of like if she had a chance of winning or not. But that's where her winning story comes together, because you realize this is the payoff. This is where she, like, all of the little moves start coming together, and you know that she is playing for keeps. This is her strategy.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's a killer player.
Fairly certain. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I just said she's a killer player. I was agreeing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm fairly certain the only question that she gets wrong during that challenge is something that's actual game related. Like, what was the name of this challenge? And I think that's the only question that she gets wrong. When it comes to like knowing the people that she's playing with, she gets it right because she took the time to do that. And I'm gonna come down from the pedestal because I do want to wrap this up so you guys can go back to your real lives. But it's almost frustrating. And I know one of the rumors is, oh, Sean Rector didn't play season 50 because Vecepia hasn't been casted. Like, and I don't know if that's true, but I kind of hang my hat on it because I want it to be true.
Sure.
because I want it to be like, oh yeah, Sean Rector is friends with both Boston Rob and Vesepian in his real life, and I want it to be. I'm so upset that you guys are disrespecting this winner from season 4 that I don't want to play season 50, because this winner in season 4 basically laid the groundwork for every social winner that has ever won the game. Every Michelle Fitzgerald, for instance, one of the when fucking Aubrey probably wins 50. Michelle won that first time because she's a social player, and people were upset then. People are upset. It upsets me that the social game, which is probably the most important aspect of, not probably, for me, it is the most important aspect of the game, is so disrespected to even this point in the Survivor lore, that people like Vesepia, because Michelle, I feel like she's starting to gain fandom. People like Vesepia, people like Earl Cole are not looked at as great winners, and if you win, you win. All of that. It bothers me. And that's why it's one of the many reasons that I do the marathon the way that I do, because I want to be able to watch it in a bubble of, I'm going to watch all of this shit in 50 days so that I have my opinions can't change, because I'm watching it unlike everyone else where they're watching it over the course of 25 years, 26 years. I'm watching it in the course of 50 days, which is why Rupert fatigue is real, because I'm done. I'm done with Rupert. I'm done with Rupert Bear.
You haven't even gotten to the Rupert season.
I haven't even gotten to Rupert yet.
So much rotten stuff.
I'm dreading tomorrow, because Thailand is just still Thailand. But like, even then, despite what Brian Heidick may probably did after his season, Brian Heidick is a pretty solid winner, because no one ever wants to vote for him to get voted out. Like, yeah, he's probably
he's a fantastic winner.
He tricked everyone. He's unbelievable. He's the first person who won playing a character. No one's ever done that.
Yes. Yeah, Coach couldn't do it. Once again, sorry, Mario. I know that's your boy.
I've made fun of Coach more than anybody. Don't worry about it.
I know you have. And I want to say this, because one of the, and I told you this before we went live, one of the main reasons I have never reached out to you to do this is because I'm not a Coach person. I've never been a Coach person. And so I know, like, reading your articles is like always like, okay, you're poking fun of him, but like, yeah, he probably likes him enough.
Yeah.
I've never been a Coach person. So when the season 50 cast got announced, I made a proclamation to a lot of people that if Coach won season 50, I would never watch Survivor again, and I wouldn't do this.
I was one of the people that got the text.
And the week that he got voted out is when I sent all of my invites out, because because I just couldn't grasp the fact that people actually liked Coach as a person / player, whatever. So just putting that out there. All right, cool. We've hit 2 hours. We're almost there.
Can I say one more thing about Vesepia? One more thing before we move? Real quick. 3 sins. Vesepia committed 3 sins. Jeff Probst and the producers didn't like her. It wasn't her story. And all of Survivor history is now based on returnee seasons. And there's nothing she could do about any one of those 3 things. So, unfortunately.
Todd Herzog and Chris speak to you there.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Vesepia is the greatest. That's why I picked Marquesas. I want to talk about her.
Yeah.
And you're correct for that option.
Yeah, I am with you there.
You picked the correct season.
Yep, as did you.
Yes, thank you.
This is one of the this is the first season where you can give the necklace away. It doesn't happen this season. We're gonna see it happen 2 seasons later.
Yeah,
cool. This is the first rock draw after them trying to figure out what they want to do with tie votes. We get the rock draw in this season. It's a purple rock this time. because I'm not a Pascal fan, I'm very happy that he draws the purple rock and that he has some type of physical thingy that happens later. I'm excited for the rock draw to happen here. Quickly, thoughts on what should happen in a tie vote? Just even now, what should happen in a tie vote?
I think exactly what happened is what should have happened. I don't know why Probst has always said this. They shouldn't have done it. They didn't do it correctly in Marquesas. To me, this is exactly how you do it. You assholes break that tie. And they're like, no. And he's like, you're going to draw a rock. And they're like, fine. And then one of the assholes gets the rock because he was too stubborn and wouldn't vote out Nalea.
You said you would never vote for Nalea.
Exactly.
So, and here we are. I think that the rock draw should go up to Final Four. Honestly, if that's really if that is the consequence of you not being able to break a tie.
Yeah.
And get rid of Final Four fire making altogether. It's stupid.
Yeah. This is 100% on Pascal's stubbornness. He asked for it. He knew it was coming and I didn't feel bad for him at all. This is exactly how you break ties. You do not say you will never vote against somebody. Sorry, that's not how you win Survivor. So I didn't feel bad for this at all. And I always was shocked that people did feel bad for Pascal.
I laughed.
Yeah. He walked right into it.
Mario, quick Zoe thoughts on Zoe.
I'm gonna blow your minds here. This is gonna be fun. Here's how much this is my bona fides from Marquesas. I've run a secret survivor group on Facebook for years that it's invite only. I don't want people to know about it. It's called Zoe's Lobster Shack. I named it after her. Not only that, but Zoe is a member in Zoe's Lobster Shack. So
yes.
I met her. Yeah,
I love
cool.
Zoe.
Yeah, Zoe was someone who had never seen the show before. They came and recruited her. She didn't even own a TV on the island she lived on. She's like, I didn't even know what this was. They just recruited me. So she was so far over her head in Marquesas. So when people make fun of her for being invisible, she didn't know what she was doing.
Zoe's fun. Zoe is a fun kid. Just every time we get Zoe content, it's worth watching. Tammy, I don't like you. Or her V doesn't stand for victory here. Or her final tribal speech. Like her final word. Everything that Zoe does this season.
Her sexy biting of the Snickers bar out of Jeff's hand.
Yes. Zoe is a fun character despite the fact that relatively she is invisible, but like the winner of the season is invisible. So what are we talking about here? Like Zoe is a fun character because everyone in Marquesas, whether you're Holy Peter or Invisible Vesepia, you're a fun character. Gia, quick thoughts on Zoe.
I love Zoe. She's fantastic. We need more characters like this, like the Gabes, the Zoes. I don't need everybody that plays Survivor to be a Survivor fan. You know, I think that the show is better when we get a mix of players, and I don't need them all to be super fans or people that are even aware of like how the show works. I think it's more entertaining when we really do get people from all walks of life. So I very much enjoy characters like Zoe. I think we could have gotten more screen time of her. But I like that she is able to still like be able to embrace her. The island was the idol stop for Maine for Survivor 50's Idol Hunt, and she was there. Like, so it's nice to see players from that era still be involved, still enjoy their time on the show, and still talk about the show.
Yep. Plus her initials are ZZ. How cool is that?
Exactly. What a legend.
Okay, I got four things left, and one of them is our final question. Going from least important. Least important. Final five. If you're Kathy, where are you voting?
I mean, she was kind of screwed either way. I would not have gone with Pascal and Nalea because they were unbreakable. I would have gone with Shauna and Vesepia, but she stuck with her alliance. That's what they did back then. You stick with your original alliance.
I think it was so dumb for her to go with Nalea and Pascal at this point. I'm sorry. I think that At the very least, I don't know if she would have been able to break through the bond that Vesepia and Sean had. I think it would depend. I think at that point, Vesepia and Sean are not going to go with Kathy for the reason that they will lose to Kathy. I don't think it has anything to do with the bond in particular that they have. But she's not getting through that Nalea Pascal one. So you just need one of them to win final immunity and it's over for you. I think she had a better chance of making it to the end or breaking through a duo with Sean and Vesepia. And this whole season has been about, well, what if something changes in the next round or so? So I think that was a sin on Kathy there. I think that was entirely the wrong choice.
A Tale of Two Cities is one of my favorite Survivor episodes ever. It's the one that I went on with Christine years ago, because it's just you get a lot in it. And yes, it's very like I do agree. I probably would have taken Sean and Vesepia because like removing all bias, me rooting for Vesepia, removing all bias. Pascal and Leah are outright saying, because they're it's early season, so you can outright tell who your alliance is. We are saying we will never vote against each other. Mm-hmm. At least with Sean and Vesepia, Sean is saying, hey, V has not voted the same way I have at certain points. For me, if I'm Kathy, it's like, okay, you take that only because there is a chance. Yeah. There's a slim chance, because Sean and Vesepia, I feel like, probably would have gone to the end together. There is a slim chance that these two may vote against each other to, with Pascal and Leah, they have been open from jump that this is what it is. I don't give a shit what else is happening in the game. We're doing this. Final five of Marquesas is one of my favorite episodes ever, because I don't blame Kathy for the way she goes, because you don't know either. You can't. And she, at the start off the finale, she says, I don't know if I made the right decision. I can't know if I made the right decision. And ultimately, I do feel like she probably ends up in third or fourth no matter what happens. And I posted this on Instagram earlier. One of my favorite Survivor moments is the rites of passage where Vesepia looks at Sean's torch and like kind of breaks down. Marquesas is so amazing. Marquesas might have the largest jump in my Survivor rankings this time around, because it's damn good. But just, I don't blame Kathy here, and I've always blamed Kathy for years. It's like, you picked the wrong side. Here, it's like, I get it. I get why you might be. I get why you might be torn. All right, almost done. Kathy felt. I just rewatched Princess Bride for like the 1,000th time the other day. Kathy fell for one of the more obvious tricks ever, other than getting caught in a land war in Asia. When Nalea says, hey, yeah, you're because despite the fact that I think Nalea is like Miss Mormon, I do think there was some strategy to say, hey, fix your boss. Kathy falls for it and Kathy loses, and Vesepia does what she needs to do to get to the end.
Another great moment.
Do you know how hated Vesepia was for that at the time?
Yes.
I mean, they would have voted her like the biggest villain in Survivor history at the time. Because of that.
Was she considered for the villain's tribe? I think she was considered for the villain tribe, and here's just villains because of that moment.
Vesepia literally, like, you guys literally were going to vote Vesepia out yesterday if it wasn't for her winning immunity. Be so for real.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it made sense. I'm just saying that was the mood at the time. Yeah. She was voted into the reality TV Hall of Shame because of that moment right at the time by David Bloomberg.
And she won $1 million. So,
and she did, yes.
She won $1 million.
But it was that was a big talking point, that moment. Just wanted to point that out.
Second to last thing, I think this is the first time that we get some semblance of what a bitter jury could be. Bitter juries are like whatever, with the exception of All Stars. Bitter juries are whatever. You can have your opinions, blah blah blah. Just because Rob didn't want to be your best friend during the game, fine. Bitter juries can be whatever. I did feel like this jury was overly pissed off at a lot of stuff that they had no reason to be pissed off at. Specifically, Kathy, where I felt like the Sepia answered her question. Kathy says, "You didn't answer my question, but whatever, it's fine." And votes for Nalia. I felt like a lot of, at least half of the jurors, kind of came in trying to embarrass the finalists, who I felt like both deserved, whatever that means for this person to be there. How did you guys feel about the jury overall? Not knowing how they, like, voting is fine, but like how they kind of.
I just want to say this real quick. At the time, I didn't really get it because I didn't feel the anger in that season justified that vitriol in the final jury. You know, there's been a rumor about that final jury for years. Have you heard this? I don't know if you guys know this.
No.
I've heard mixed answers on this. That back in the day,
I haven't heard this.
No. Yeah, that they recorded that the first time, but they weren't angry enough. There wasn't enough spice in the jury, so the producers actually had them do the whole thing over again. The final tribal council, because they're like, you need more spice. So when it's amped up, that's, I think, what you might be seeing there. But I've also seen Marquesas players over the years deny that, say, oh no, that was the first time, we never recorded that. So I'm not entirely sure what the story is there, but for years that has always been the story, that the producers asked them to retape that and add some spice to it. So that might be what we saw. I'm not sure about that one. But it doesn't match the story we saw. They didn't really need to be that angry. And it's weird because I know historically the Marquesas cast has been one of the closest ones. They're always pretty good friends afterwards. They're super tight. So it is odd watching that because it doesn't match the reality of, I think, what we saw.
Interesting.
Your thoughts on
I mean, I'm kind of, I think the right person won from what we saw through the show, but I do get the vibe that we see it a couple times. There are people that are facing the consequences of their own actions as jury members. They think that they deserve to win because it was their game. And of course, no one understands their game like they do. And sometimes juries can't understand the idea that someone that they don't perceive as being as intelligent as them can make it further in the game as them and potentially leave a millionaire. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of the case here. I mean, again, as somebody that loves Survivor Fiji, it's the same thing that happens there. So it does not mean that the finalists are undeserving. I think it just means that the jury can't contemplate their own flaws.
Yeah. This is one thing I've said all over the years, is that really at the end of the day, the winner of Survivor is the one you can sleep at night knowing is the face of your season now.
Yes.
And I really think it comes down to that a lot in Marquesas. Like, I'm even thinking of myself as a player. I'm not sure I would want Nalia as the face of my season for the next 40 years. It's a 21-year-old little, naive Mormon girl. So it's like, I always thought that's really what it comes down to. Can you handle Nalia being the face of the season? And in the end, they really couldn't. So, and again, I hate that it feels like it's not Vesepia's story once again, but that's really what I think it came down to. I don't think John Carroll could sleep at night saying, I just cannot live in a world where Nalia is on the cover of the DVD. She's the middle.
Johnny Pots and Pans.
Johnny Pots and Pans.
Johnny Pots and Pans. Yeah. All right. So actually wrapping up now. Like I said, Marquesas this time around, because I'm removing all biases that I could possibly have, is of the first 4 seasons. I gave it a 4.25 out of 5, and it's not close. It's everything that a Survivor season should be. For the people that complain about post-COVID Survivor, changing the game so much. It's like, no, this is what it is. This is what Survivor is in its true form. This is what we meaning me, want. I want this. We don't have to worry about idols. We don't have to worry about any of this. We just have to worry about social capital, sort of alliances, sort of, but like at the end of the day, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know that Hunter Ellis is going to get voted out. You don't know that Gabe's going to get voted out. You don't like it's from beginning to end, with the exception of the Rotu 3 that go during that mid-merge portion. You don't know what's going to happen, and I love this season so much, and I have a lot of memories that go with it that I can kind of bring out now watching it, in my mom's hair salon, and I love it so much. So, final ratings for y'all before I get to my final question. Out of 5.
I mean, I would give it a 5 personally. This is my second favorite season. I've long said that I think the first 4 seasons get incrementally better. I think the first Borneo is amazing. I think Australia is everything that they did in Borneo, they did a little better in Australia. I think Africa is the crown jewel of the first 3 seasons. And I think Marquesas even tops Africa. So I've always said, I thought Survivor got better in the first 4 seasons. And this is about the peak of how high it ever went, with the exception of Pearl Island. So I would absolutely give it a 5. It's everything that people love to give Amazon and Pearl Islands credit for, how, it's sloppy, how the alliances are all over the place, it's ever changing, you end up with a WTF winner at the end you didn't see coming. Marquesas did that before Amazon and Pearl Islands did. So I don't know why this one isn't highly regarded. It should be. It does everything you want to see in a season.
It's because she's black.
Good point.
I'm kidding.
You're kidding, but I'm not kidding when I say this, because the winner is a black woman. What? Who said that?
Well, it's not her story. That's what I'm saying. It's just it's never her story until she wins.
No. I'm not saying what you're saying. I'm saying why people don't receive it as well. Why the general fandom does not hold it in as high of regard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But which is unfortunate. I'd rate it. Yeah, I'm probably around like a 4.8, 4.9. I think even with my favorite seasons, and Marquesas is definitely in my top 5, that there's always something that I wish either happened a little different or they did a little differently. I would love to have seen more of Vesepia. I think the perspective of her game would have been so amazing to see, and really would have elevated the season, even if it's just a few confessionals here and there sprinkled throughout about kind of like, okay, like I'm, some of the things we talked about before. I'm having all the alpha males just kind of talk themselves up so they get annoyed with one another. I'm pretty well integrated with the old Rotu members, so now they have to convince me to join. It's all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And those 3 episodes between when the other Rotu 4 members go, there's some highlights, but could have been an email. But I still enjoy it. I still watch it. I think there's still, I don't think it's a skip. I think it's just like what you would expect to happen does happen. There aren't too many surprises in there. But yeah, like 4.8, 4.9. Overall, it's pretty much as close to what I want in a season as I am ever going to get.
Yeah, I would say that today, the only time I actually sat on my phone was during the Zoe through General episodes, those 3. But even then, I knew when to put my phone down.
Yeah. You didn't like the popcorn challenge, the popping popcorn?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But what is it? Oh, Sanctuary. Like the General saying Sanctuary. It's like, oh man, cool, good for you. Like there are still moments in those 3 episodes where you don't get an Australian Outback, because once Jerry goes home, okay, whatever. I guess Keith's the bad guy. Yeah. Sure, whatever. I give it a 4.25 out of 5, and it's definitely my favorite season of the first 4 seasons. I don't think tomorrow's gonna change my mind.
Oh really? You don't think Thailand is going to top Marquesas?
So, final question that I have asked everyone so far, and we'll start with Gia. Something that the modern day fandom would hate about Survivor Marquesas.
So when we talked about this beforehand, I jokingly said Pascal, but not super jokingly. Like I think that some of the comments that were made throughout the season would not fly well in modern times. But I would say probably kind of expanding on that a little bit, I don't think the duo of Nalea and Pascal ages well. It's very like prototype Joe and Eva, where like they are very stuck in their ways. It doesn't make for super compelling television. I'm sure they would still try to spin it as a like inspirational storyline and do their editing magic on here, but I just don't think that duo in particular ages well in the grand scheme of things with like what we look for in a game today. There's a difference between being like, oddly enough, I think Joe's stifling gameplay is 50 is really funny to watch.
Yes.
But I'm enjoying him. But I think there's a difference between having a pair that you can root for and still have a lot happening around this duo versus a duo that stifles gameplay. And I think that duo falls into the latter category there.
Mario?
I don't think a modern audience would enjoy watching Boston Rob make out with someone who isn't Amber.
Also that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was
Sarah
happy.
Jones would be getting fan edits on TikTok.
I was happy that Sarah brought her boobs to the island. No, I don't think. No, my real answer is
I don't know who I talked to today, but I was like, Genus has a better body than Sarah, but whatever. Because Giuseppe say, "Oh, she paid a lot for her body." Like, Gina, I feel like for me,
all right, no. My real answer is this ties into what I don't like about Modern Survivor. Why I eventually gave up on watching it is that to me, Survivor is a TV show more than a game. And in a TV show, you need story arcs and you need big, long arcs that have times to set up and breathe and, mature and then pay off later. And Modern Survivor doesn't like to do that. They like to reset all the arcs basically every episode with all the twists and all the advantages and everything, where there's not really an arc that lasts more than 1 or 2 episodes. So they would probably think Marquesas is boring because there's only the one twist. And other than that, it's just a couple of series of pagongings. You can see the boots coming a mile away. So that's what I love about old Survivor. That's what a modern fan would not like about old Survivor. They would call it predictable and boring. And they're not wrong and I'm not wrong. It just depends on what you're looking for in a show.
Mm-hmm.
Going off of that, I feel like modern day fans would hate the fact that for the most part, this season is fairly kumbaya. Mm-hmm. Whether yes, there are a lot of fights that happen this season, but I mentioned earlier, Rob, Sean, and John, when they all get voted out, they have nothing but good things to say about people. When they lose, and they accept the fact that they lost. Mm-hmm. I feel like modern day Survivor fans would be like, oh, they didn't want it enough, or Survivor just hates it. And it's like, no, you can play a game and be this invested in it, and when you lose or win, you can go back to the real world and realize that was nothing, or that was a lot of fun, but I lost or I won. I feel like modern day Survivor fans kind of put on the pedestal, old school Survivor is all about fights and this, that, and the other. It's like, that's not true. Mm-hmm. Old school Survivor is a lot of kumbaya. Mm-hmm. Old school Survivor is a lot of kumbaya. And I feel like they just kind of forget that. But it is. You can still fight. You can still do. Johnny Fairplay makes it to the final 3, and Sandra, I can get loud 2 happens during pre-merge. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's what modern day survivors would hate. Mario G, thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like I'm glad that Marquesas was the season of the first 4 to last this long, because this is the first season of the first 4 that I haven't had to take a break at any point during the day. Like the first 3, I have had to take a nap or like just do something. I didn't take a break during the day today because I've enjoyed it this much that even if I have to use the bathroom, it's like, okay, I'll just let it run because I'll be back in like a minute. It's not a big deal. So thank you both so much. Gia, we will have you back with Christine during season what?
I think Panama.
Is that next week? Probably.
We'll talk later.
Well, no, I'm pretty sure it's next week, right? It has to be math.
Yeah, because it's season 12.
It's season
Yeah.
12. And we're gonna try to get Mario back for a season before we're done with this. But thank you both so much for making this the longest of this specific marathon.
I'm honored.
It'd be very hard to break this. I would be shocked if we break this at this point. Thank you to everyone in the chat that's been joining us through all of this. Make sure to follow Mucky Hope Productions through all of this. Mucky's doing interviews with people that have everyone that has played Survivor Australia. So make sure to follow the channel for that. I will be back tomorrow, probably because I want to get through Thailand. Probably around 6, because I'm going to knock out like 4 episodes tonight just to get it done. I'll be back tomorrow night to do Survivor Thailand, going into Survivor Pearl Islands over the weekend, and All Stars and whatever the fuck. But thank you guys so much. Gia, where can we follow you both social media wise and podcast wise?
You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Classically Gia for all of my reality TV shenanigans. I am on Inside Survivor. I do the weekly roundups with my good friend Christine, who will be on here soon as well. Though we may cancel this week after she texted me what happened in this episode. So we'll see. TBD. And you can find me at Recap Kickback to talking about Abbott Elementary with Chappelle. And it's always a good time. We still have to record our season finale for season 5. That's my fault. So we will be back on that track soon. And speaking of Sean Rector, you can also follow me on my Substack, Bet on Black, talking about Blackness and pop culture, specifically reality TV. And I'll have a few. This time of year is always really hard for me because I work at a college and it is one of the busiest times possible for my job. However, I will be back. I had a little bit of a writing lull, and I will be back soon. And also, just kind of a side note, something I'll be writing about soon. Unfortunately, Jason Collins, who is the first NBA player to be openly gay while playing in the NBA, passed away on the 12th, which was 2 days ago, from brain cancer. So just rest in peace to him, and to just pay homage to Trailblazer.
Mario?
All right. Yeah, I don't have as much to plug. I have kind of checked out of Survivor. I've kind of checked out of social media. I am still on Twitter at Mario J. Lanza. If you want to follow me, you can read all my old Survivor writings, Funny115, funny115.com. I have a podcast that goes through the history of Survivor called Survivor Historians, which I'm very proud of. It was the very first podcast that went through the history of the show season by season, kind of like this, but much more in depth. We did like 10 hours on Marquesas, so this is nothing, Drew.
We're 8 hours short. We
did like 12 hours on Thailand. Try breaking that record.
Oh,
but
God.
you can find historians at survivorhistorians.podbean.com. We are just about to finish up that show. We're finishing on South Pacific. That's one of my personal favorite seasons, and that's the last season we're going to cover. I have a movie podcast called Staff Picks, where I talk about underrated and underloved movies. You can find that at staffpicks.podbean.com. And what else? If you like Norm Macdonald, I run the Norm Macdonald Joke of the Day page on Twitter, which is one of the hottest pages on Twitter right now. So I run that too. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
Yes, please. These are, well, Gia knows, like, I've been a big Gia person since I joined the online portion of this community. And Mario, like I told you before we went live, you know, Funny 115 is one of my favorite things. And the fact that you joined me today for this, I appreciate you both so much for such a...
Yes. Oh, no, you go first.
For such a game-changing season. Gia, I'm excited to have you. Mario, hope I have you back for at least one more season. Yeah, it sucks that I have to do Thailand tomorrow, but like, whatever. It happens. Jan is fine. So
I wish you could have me on for Thailand. I love Thailand. I would love to talk about it, but I think I'm busy tomorrow, unfortunately.
if you want to come back tomorrow,
I always say Thailand has the most entries on the Funny 115. It's my personal
it does.
It does.
Gia, go ahead.
If you have not read anything on the Funny 115 and you need to read something on there, read the Purple Kelly segment. It is so good. It is Bible. It is incredible. Love
one
that
of the things
one.
I'm most proud of. I love that entry. I'm very proud I could help save your reputation.
If you do nothing else with your time in the Survivor fandom, this episode that just recently aired made you check out forever, just read the Purple Kelly entry of the Funny 115, and then that is your one homework.
I set up a special URL for that one just because it was so popular. It's Funny115/Purple Kelly.
It feels like your third eye opens when you read it. It's great.
Well, honestly,
fantastic.
if you've ever been curious where any Survivor meme, for the most part, has come from, follow the Funny 115, because it probably came from there. If you say CGI Brett, which is, for me, is one of the biggest memes in this community, it came from the Funny 115. So, like, please go follow. Make sure, like I said, follow us. I'll be back tomorrow night. Thank you all once again, and we will see you on the other side.
Thank you.